All right. We live, people. We live. Let me just do a couple quick editing, then I'll get my guests in here. We're gonna get this show started. It's gonna be a fun show. Just hang tight. Do the editing real quick, and I get everybody in here. All right. Okay. Just hang tight. All right. We're almost there. Today's date. All right. Looks like we're done with the editing, and then just give me 1 sec. All right. So we're good there. All right, so this is going to be a fun show. Let me send a link to my guests. But this is going to be fun tonight. Hang tight. All right, just going to run through just a couple quick announcements, and then I'll get my guests in here. All right, as you see, I've updated the ticker on the bottom. We have the dates now listed. So for the 6th annual Journey of the Black Adept Conference, going to run through these quick. Those dates are now listed, October 19th to the 22nd. So if you want to attend, you want to sign up or register to come in person, or if you want to attend virtually, shoot me an email. I will get you information on how to do that. You know where to read. These will be real quick announcements. You know where to reach me for a spiritual consultation or reading. Everything is right there on the bottom of the screen. Shoot me an email. We could set that up. Also, tomorrow night, for those on Patreon, we have 2 more events. We have this Friday upcoming. We have the ritual, the Dicker Circle of the Black Assassins tomorrow night, followed by a class on Saturday. All right. All that information is on the Patreon page. You can check that out over there. If you are a Patreon member, if you would like to join the Patreon to get access to the classes, all you have to do is go to patreon.com/Baniti, BANITI, patreon.com /Baniti, BANITI, tier 3. If you join tier 3, that gives you access to all the Patreon classes and the ritual that we do at the end of the month. All right. Taja, I see you in the room. I'm going to send a link. I'm going to inbox you right to that link since you're in here already. It'll be easy to do that. Let me copy the link. I'm just going to side message you. All right, hold on. Hold on a second. So now let me do it. Okay, it's not letting me do it. I don't know why. All right. All right, I'm about to send it to your email, bro. Shit ain't working. Hold on. Do it right now. All right, Taj, I sent it to your email. Let me send No Face Deviation his link. Hold on one sec. Let me send it to him. And then we should be good to go. Send him his link. All right, here we go. All right, I sent it to No Face. You guys should have the links. Taj, I sent it to your email. I don't even know. I think it's the Taza French one, not the 2008 one. It was the other one. Check the other one. I can send it there if you don't see it. Just let me know. But I send it to the other one. It's not that one, not the 2008 one. 2008 was the other one. All right, cool. All right, so we got a special show tonight. We're gonna have a little fun. So we're broadcasting this on all three platforms because we get, more people will show up on YouTube. So we're not going to really play any music but our guest, only because of you got to be careful with the copyright. But I think you guys know what we're talking about, so I don't think it's a huge deal. So we're going to take a stroll down memory lane. We're going to go over a lot of history tonight. As you know, as you see this year, over the last few weeks, the last couple of months, all over the place, different platforms, shows, venues. What's up? And there's been different events going on, big events we'll talk about celebrating 50 years of hip hop music. So we're gonna, talk about the origins of it, the history of it, where it's evolved. Go somewhere. Stop making faces. I can see you. John, go ahead. Go somewhere. Seriously. So yeah, we're gonna get into a lot of that. 50 years, which I remember them saying back in the day when I was a kid, in the early to mid 80s, that it wasn't going to last. It's a fad. Things of that nature. Well, long story short, here we are 50 years later, and we see the tremendous influence it has had, not just on. Oh, let me go live on Instagram. I'm sorry, I forgot to hit that. My bad. I did that last time. There we go. Here we are 50 years later, and it's influenced not just American pop culture, American culture in general, if there is such a thing. It's influenced cultures worldwide. A lot of the genres of music, I remember back then in the 80s, there was a lot of R&B artists and other other genres, rock, heavy metal. There was a lot of artists and different groups and genres saying it wouldn't last. And here we are today, and it's incorporated almost in pretty much every music that you pretty much listen to. So that's how wide it's become. Years ago, which, here we go. We got Taja. Let's get him in the room. What's going on, Taja?
Yo, it's good.
Yo, you gotta take that jersey off, bro. What's going on?
Listen. I don't get in the chat and harass you for wearing a Yankees hat, bro.
I got my giant shit on today. It's football season, baby.
No doubt.
Just having fun. I sent the link to No Face. I was going to ask you. If you got Askier's con, send him the link, man. I was thinking about.
Yeah, I spoke to Askier, man. Shout out to him, man. He's not going to be able to make it on, but he was in an accident, man. So he's trying to get rehabbed up and whatnot. But he's going to pop in when he can.
Okay, no worries. Cool. So I was telling everybody, if you heard or not, I know you probably were there. We're gonna, we're pretty much gonna go celebrating this 50 years. We're gonna have our spotlight with our guest when he gets here. I did send him the link. But then we're gonna go really through. I was saying it's 50 years. You know, of hip hop that everybody's been celebrating this year, especially the last month or so. A lot of events. We'll talk about a lot of the different events and venues that have been going on the last few weeks. A lot of good stuff. Most of it, you can get a lot of good clips of it and performances of it right here on YouTube. A lot of it was filmed. What I was starting with, we were talking about the very early days. We could start with the birthplace or the birth of hip hop. Now, everybody immediately will go to the Bronx, right? I am in agreement with that, but there was some stuff going on in Queens too. I don't really get caught up in that debate. I mean, today to me it's pointless. Back then, it was big, and then obviously in the '80s you had the whole KRS-One, Boogie Down Productions, MC Shan, the whole Bronx, Queens. Where did it start? Where did it originate? I mean, it was pioneers everywhere. I'm sure there was people doing shit too that could probably step forward and never got credit for it, right?
Right.
But they traced the origins back in 1973 to the Bronx. To you got to start there. And something you brought up. Let's start. It's funny because I remember you brought this up, and we were discussing this on a couple shows back. When you look at the original what culture of hip hop, especially the dress, right? It's shifted. It shifted away from that, big time, because as we were talking about on one previous show, if you look at groups and artists like Grandmaster Melly Mel, the Furious Five, Africa Bambaataa, DJ Kool Herc, a lot of these guys were wearing a lot of that P-Funk clothing. So when we go back to the early days, let's talk about, and then what I want to do with all of us, I want everybody to what's the hit? We got to guess it. Let me bring in No Face. Hold on. No Face. What's going on, brother? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, Claire. How you doing?
All right, cool.
What's good, No
Peace.
Peace, man. Real quick, I want to introduce everybody to this brother here, No Face Deviant. That's his YouTube page. I'm going to have you introduce yourself in a minute. I want you guys to check out his music. He specifically makes music. Well, I say in general, he makes music. He's an artist, period. But he makes a lot of music geared towards this path, what we study, things of that nature. So having said that, brother, why don't you introduce yourself to the people, tell them who you are, and give your information, your platforms where they can connect with your music.
Yes, sir. Yes. My name is No Face Divination. Again, I specify and what I like to put an emphasis on is occult rap, meaning a new genre. Naturally, like most of us, I grew up in my young years. I'm from New York, I'm from the Mecca. I grew up. I remember I spent a lot of time on Grand Concourse, as a kid, running those streets, So the essence of hip hop is always in me. Also, again, with my name, No Face Divination, because a lot of people don't ask me. I started originally. My channel I was doing tarot on my channel, and I used I used this as a gateway to test myself out. If I was like, all right, let me see, like, let's put the shit to the test. Like, it's cool when I do it, behind closed doors for years, but I was like, let me step out. I felt like that was bold for me to do, and also, I rap. That's something that's been, a part of me since I was a kid. So this is me finally stepping out, because a lot of people didn't know I did this, that I rap,
Right.
Kind of, I'm part of, I was in the crowd, but I'm not in the crowd. Like, I always like to say that about me, I always kept like my own uniqueness and true to self, despite what's around me. So yeah, I like to, you know, that's who I am in the short term.
Cool. I'm gonna just to give people a little some little snippets of some of your music. Again, you can check out his well, why don't you give where give us all the platforms
Oh yeah,
outside of your YouTube page? What are
yeah,
your platforms to get your
yeah.
music?
YouTube. I'm No Face Divination on YouTube. Also you can check me out. There's a No Face Divination topic, and that's where my music from, you know, the main streaming platforms go to. So that's my separate channel. You can find me No Face Divination on Instagram. You know, those are the platforms that I'm on right now.
Okay,
Yeah, so yeah, definitely.
cool. So definitely check this brother out. We're gonna play a couple of snippets of a song. Then I'm gonna ask you a few more questions, but let's check out a couple of snippets here.
Thank you.
Hold on one sec. Let me share the screen. Make sure you got just the sound. Actually, give me one sec here. I'm gonna actually share the screen. Let me pull that up, just so people can get a good idea. Hold on one second. All right. What is it now? Let me. Layout. Where's the share option? Oh, there we go. All right. All right, so let me pull this up right here. Hold on. All right. And this is a cult rap.
Yes.
My daddy was a shooter, his son way more clever. Shit, my son gon' be the one to tell these niggas get their bread up. Got like 26 letters, I just need 2 with no extras. Closest gun 100 times, still got put up on that stretcher. I'll bevel cut whatever ties, ending up an error. Times the patient smoking mirrors, sit back, watch for all they errors. Seen this shit 1,000 times, a million tips, tell a zigger. 2 cell phones across the world, myself just thought bigger. Blind folks, switch my hustle, bitches. Screenshotting pictures, niggas envy, counting pockets, all that come with being litter. Screw blunts down the switches as a boy now. Richer, being rich, diamond buffer scuff, ice flow.
I want to play a couple more. I mean, as you see, a unique flow. We'll talk about that in a second,
Yes,
though.
absolutely.
Yeah. We're going to talk about that in a
A
sec.
lot of range.
Yeah. Let's listen to Cult Rap 22.
Favorite.
Oh, hold on.
Hey there, stop changing channel.
Hold on. There we go. Definitely going to ask you about some of the sampling and music input.
Thank you.
Barry White Glodine, I don't sing how the baritone, but baby clipping the whole wing. Starts
Sounds like a
to
little
fairy
Master
tales with a
Killer
friend grip, it don't blink, point blank. Switch sides, my yin yang, do 2 tanks. Come out, mates, the jungle tip my niggas to change. I'm still here today to tell the story, I'm dripped in the game. Canelo exchange, bustin' back, water wall, red head on the flame. It beat like Wu-Tang, my new aim, flow with the wind. Black ink with braids, I spent 1,000 days on shit like boosting my brain. ESP on the beat, cigarette on the wave. I could've got a new gauge. I'm good with the bush blade. New Franks and Benny, blue chip, it's Hardaway. Shaquille nail plug and handshake called open the play.
I'm gonna play a couple more. That got a little Master Killer flow to it.
Yeah, oh, man, how'd you know? That's crazy.
I could just tell, bro. Let me play this one, Full Moon Freestyle.
Yeah.
I like this one too. I'm going through some of the ones. It's all good stuff.
Yeah.
Check it all out, but I want to play some key ones that stood out to me. This is Full Moon Freestyle.
Barry White and Glodine, I don't sing how the baritone, but baby clipping the whole wing. Starts in fairy tales with a phantom grip, it don't blink, point blank. Switch sides, my yin yang, do 2 tanks. Come out and mix, the jungle took my niggas to change. I'm still here today to tell the story, I'm dripped in the game. Canelo exchange, bustin' back, water wall, red hair on the flame. It be like Wu-Tang, my new aim, flow with the wind. Black ink with braids, I spent 1,000 days on shit like boosting my brain. ESP on the beat, sick of
Let me go through two more.
Thank you.
This is Stay Out of the Water.
Yes.
Yeah.
only rap cause these niggas trash. Occult rap enough for that. I've been doing this since back in the day. Think I'm broke cause I'm burning sage. Fun bitch, I met Burner do a bag. You still fucking for change. Fucking the rappers ain't got what exchange.
What?
Little clout in the city outside ain't as bad as you think. I don't know, niggas don't know who they is. If he posts my name, it's probably for insurance, just a scandalous bitch. Don't see another cell, you keep the bid. These niggas be telling anyway you see it, just as clear as it gets.
From a dozen need a fix.
Push yourself in harm's way from them niggas if it rather it flip. I love the battle scene, the movies just in catching the script.
All right, let me run through this one here. Shape Shift.
Yes.
Factor is by far the best food subscription service I have ever tried.
You need to diversify your bonds like a
Cold rap. Yeah. That's how we gonna do it. This sound like voodoo and Haiti while cleft on the damn strings. You know, razor's arm, but the force behind the crime spree. Slippery slope, knife and acetone clean. Assassinate hope, dope sold by agencies. Stay out the water, billionaires and submarines. Yummy your song, but water down the submarine. Scorpio sun, moon sign, and Pisces. Know you bound to drizzle out from medicine society. Sometimes I gotta focus on breath to feel the high in me. Sometimes you hate the reflection, but see.
All right, so let's talk to you for a little bit, just to give people a little taste, a little flavor. Again, go to the,
Yes.
go to his different platforms. You can check that out. And Taja, interject.
No doubt.
Got any
No doubt.
questions? So
Thank you.
let me talk to you about this. Obviously, my thoughts when you first contacted me and I heard it. Obviously, definitely got your own. I always look for people having their own unique style, right? That's important to me. I mean, granted, everybody's different. Everybody, has their preferences. But for me, it's always about lyrical content, having your own style and a good flow.
Correct.
You definitely have you have your own unique style with the production. Obviously, to me, is always important that it kind of matches the MC's flow. So your production, and I'm going to ask you about some of the samples. I see the influence there.
Yes.
You have a very, very smooth, laid back type of style. It's definitely your own. I do hear a Killer Priest influence in there. I don't know if that's one of your influences.
Ironically, you see why.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about who were some of your artists that influenced you.
Yes.
That you grew up hearing, since we're talking about 50 years of hip hop. Who influenced you? And when you put your music together, because I'm hearing a lot of old 70s, I'm hearing a lot of R&B, old school blues in there. Let's talk a little bit about that.
Oh yes. My first musical experience, because I was born in '92, so I'm like a hip hop baby. My parents were young during that time, so Wu-Tang was my first musical experience that I could actually grasp. I really, as a young kid, my obsession with music was a little deeper. My parents, they gave me they used to it was a gift for me. Like when I got Liquid Swords by the Jizza.
Yep.
I got Liquid, and funny. I'm looking at the imagery, on the chessboard. It's the a lot of that means more to me now. So when I listen to those songs, it take me back to the Occult rap. These, it's like you made a video. You was talking about time.
Yeah.
And you was talking about linear time and and cyclical time. And I always use music as that example. It crosses so many borders because
Sure.
I'm switching time periods. I'm tapping in to myself. Rapping for me is it's like my shadow work kind of getting exposed. I'm seeing, because a lot of things I'm saying, I'm it's coming from a certain place.
Right.
have to let it out, you know. And so a lot of times I do feel like, you know, I have to look. I'm like, why did I say this, you know? And you know, look at it from that perspective. And occult rap again. My life, you know, everything is just kind of changed, you know, once you know you got on this path. So like, you know, I had to separate, you know, and you know, again, my biggest influence was Wu-Tang. I
That's a
grew
good
up,
one.
yeah,
That's a good
Nas,
influence.
right, um, and you know, AZ, my name is Azrael. You know, my parents was God body. You know, I'm sorry if I didn't say that already. My parents
That's
was God
important.
body. So naturally, that influence,
Sure.
it was, you know, lingering around me. So that was a big, you know, a deal. So, you know, AZ, Nas, and you know, and I stuck to those like mainly, you know. But as I got older, you know, Sun Ra, there's another it sounds the left, but it was more the sounds.
Right.
And, you know, as far as meditation and, you know, I was seeing a lot of chemistry with that sounds, but it was helping me seeing my words from a different perspective, if that makes sense, you know?
No, makes completely sense.
Yeah.
And let me add this real quick, and I want to answer that video you mentioned. That is just a sidebar.
Yeah.
Sometimes I don't understand YouTube, that the video linear time is an illusion. Like YouTube will, and again, not that doing this on the side, you know, you make a little money off of YouTube unless you're one of those platforms that got millions of viewers. So, you know, I might make a few dollars, but they'll limit monetization on something that could be a little bit, because some of the topics, obviously, you talk about on the occult, like if you're talking about some left-hand path topics, they'll limit the monetization. They'll put like it's like a yellow dollar sign. I don't know why they fucking did that to that video. There's nothing on there that is controversial or shock value. It just, I don't understand the criteria, but I just wanted to share that with everybody since you brought it up. Taja, you got any questions? Because I had some more, but go ahead.
Yeah, no. So your production, you self-produce or you have a producer?
No, I actually pick my beats.
Okay.
Let this group of guys. All the beats that I get are free. You know, right now. You know, and honestly, I just been like, you know, it's just me. I'm rapping off my phone. You know, I don't even have my studio right now. I just been like, it's like I have to get it out, my music,
Yeah,
you
I
know.
feel you. Yeah, no, I understand it. I understand it.
Yeah,
That's good money.
because you know I'm in real life too. It's not like, you know, but honestly now I'm seeing like I'm you know, I'm grateful that people are recognizing my talent. You know what I'm saying? So like, where I was like, you know, maybe I need to, you know, I could take it up a notch, you know, but I just want to get that off my chest, you know, this
I
material.
mean, from my perspective, I mean, you know, in talking about celebrating 50 years of hip hop, it's not even about, you know, whether or not you're in the studio. You know what I mean? It's about your love of it. And however you got to get it out, you know what I mean? That's how you do it. You know what I'm saying? And when you feel that, you know, you wanna step to the quality level of, that's, you know what I mean, that's a decision you gotta make. But from what I'm hearing, you know, I like what I'm hearing. Uh, you know, the flow is definitely original, like Baniti said. It's tight. It's tight.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Love.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
And that's what stands out to me. Again, I'm not, I just want to make this clear. I got to always say, I want to sound like an old school grumpy head, but this show,
Like
I
to
want
pull that.
nobody, yeah, I want nobody to take it personal. This show is geared towards the culture of hip hop. I'm sorry, now I just got to call for what it is. Now we're not really promoting the mumble rap and the trap rap. I'm not knocking. Hey man, you're a businessman, get your thing on. I just need people to understand this, what we're doing here is not really geared for that, because sometimes people reach out. It's not hating on the new school, because I do think there needs to be a dialogue between the newer heads and the older heads. There's a good thing everybody should check out. I know everybody's probably familiar with Math Hoffa's channel, but check out the interview he just did with Ed Lover, man. And I love Ed Lover, man. Ed Lover, it was like listening to a dude I grew up with, and he's a Queens dude, so I
Right.
can relate to him. but listen to how he goes through the history, man. I mean, I was glued to. I mean, I couldn't even like literally. It's one of them things. I couldn't even turn away from the screen for a split second. He had my attention. The way he was breaking it down, I felt. I mean, he was doing it so thorough. You felt like you were there, and everything he was talking about, about this 50 years of hip hop. Remember, he's been in it. Starting with the Yo MTV Raps, even before that, 40 plus years. So you're talking about a dude that's pretty much been there from the get go. But I would encourage everybody to check that out. The full episode is posted because sometimes what Math does, he posts snippets and then he posts. But check it out.
Definitely.
Yeah.
What borough are you from?
I grew up. Well, my family from Far Rockaway. I was born in Far Rockaway, Queens.
Okay.
My mom, like, they're from Hamels. Projects. Like they really from Far Rockaway. My dad's from Bed-Stuy. He's from Tompkins Project. So my dad's from Brooklyn.
So let me real quick on Far Rockaway, because up until high school, I grew up in Nassau County in Long Island, then moved out to Queens after graduating high school. Far Rockaway is always known as the boonies. It's way out there. It's a part of Queens that's as far east as you can go. Beach Channel Drive, Beach Channel Projects. I remember, in Nassau County, we used to have to from there. We used to sometimes take the N32 bus out there that used to go from Nassau straight to Far Rockaway. Literally, it was a bus that went straight to Far Rock. A-line. It's just one of them parts of Queens that's the wilderness because of its location, but very close to Brooklyn too. Going right over the bridge, in the Starrett City, in the Flatbush. But it's a unique area.
Yes, perfectly said. And that essence, that's part of my influence naturally. Also, but I also moved down south too, so I got to see the difference, and I can compare and contrast. That was pretty cool. So about that,
that's what's up.
Yeah.
So now let's shift a little bit. How did you get into? I mean, I know, share with the listeners. I know we've talked. Share with the listeners your introduction into the occult, the left-hand path. How did you get into the information? Share with the folks, like, what were some of your early influences, and then what led you to where you're at now?
Thank you. So the first book I always credit, because that was the first one I actually dove into, was Jean Dubois, and his book was called Fundamentals of Esoteric Knowledge. I came across this book random. I need something to. At the time, it was a crazy period of my life, but I was yearning for something deeper, and that book was the first one that came into my fruition, if you must say. But also I have to credit Franz Barden, Initiation to Hermetics.
Yes.
I like the practical books. So when I first started, naturally I just like the more practical. I fell in love more with the ESP side of things, and then the psychology, and again it was and also shadow work too. Understanding behavior patterns, etc. Sure. It's helping me to break myself down, learning these things. But I didn't know at the time. I was just searching, but it kind of break me apart, but because I was more, but so that so many other people, the liberal news. I read so many books. I love Dr. Edward Bynum.
Oh yeah, sure.
Like Consciousness. I bought that book 2 times. And I gave it away twice. I bought it twice and I gave it away. That's how much I love the book. And I love that, I saw that on your channel. I was like, damn. And I kind of missed that part when you uploaded that, that portion. But that was a true story. I bought that book twice and I gave it away twice. That's how good it was.
We know Dr. Bynum personally. I've had him on as a guest a few times. very, very unique individual. Why I say he's unique, obviously being a clinical psychologist, he really attacked, and he's well traveled and initiated in many spiritual systems, but he really covers the psychological aspect of spirituality that nobody, in my opinion, really covers or talks about. But that's some definitely powerful influences. Now, in reference to that, what you're talking about,
Yeah.
though you grew up and had that influence, 5% Nation, God Body, was there any? Were you indoctrinated with any form of Christianity or?
Oh, I got funny because I was around 12 when I moved down to South Carolina. So my dad's family is originally from the South, but back in those days, everybody's moved. They was going to work. So like my dad was like the first generation born in New York. I'm like the second generation.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm originally moved down south. It was a culture shock. So like the church, they were heavy. I never seen anything like it because that wasn't. I didn't grow up on that side of like believe Jesus is real. I was always like anti. Like my dad taught me not to, say the Pledge of Allegiance in school. Like he was on that militant.
Militant type shit. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So he was really on that. So like it was kind of like a culture shock to me, naturally. And I done growing up getting in trouble. I done had holy water like thrown on me. People praying over. Yeah. Like people praying over me, like I was like, damn, like I was like Satan himself to them, and then done to me. So they was real churchy,
Yeah.
And, yeah, definitely.
Cool. Yeah. So look, I'm glad you shared that with us. I'm glad you shared some of your influences. Definitely, we can hear it in the music, and that's what stood out to me. I'm glad you shared some of those books that got you into the occult. That's why I like to have spotlights on artists come on the show and talk about that. So I don't know if there's anything else you want to add or anything else.
I had another question. B,
Go ahead. Yeah.
So what was your? I know you said Wu was one of your first influences, but what was your? I guess like, what was the thing that drove you to say, I want to do this. I want to spit. I want to, make music, put music out there.
It was more like it was like healing my inner child. Really, like it's something. It was like a dream, something that maybe not in what people may think. Everybody want to be a superstar and shit. People want to be a celebrity. Like it's just like the intentions is not pure. Like I feel like it's just music. Like I was just a vessel. Like I wanted to get my experience out. In this artful way. Now that I'm thinking about it in retrospect. So like and it's bold. I feel like it's bold for me. Just stepping out and one because I'm 30. Nobody's trying to rap. This late in their life. But this is just art for me. I don't care what anybody thinks. I'm outside the bubble already. So yeah, definitely. Just want to.
And it's funny you say that. Well, not funny.
Yeah.
Ed Lover was talking about how now, like what you're talking about, he was talking about now, and we talk about this in the past on multiple shows. Back then, it was different, right? You had to shop, your demo, it was a whole process, right? It was more like boots to the ground, but you had to go out there, hustle and grind to get on. But Ed was talking about the good and bad thing now with all this technology. And it's funny. This is why I was glued to the interview, because it was like some of the shit he was saying, it was like hearing myself talk. Literally, it was crazy. It was like, and he was talking about the upside now, like with YouTube and all these social media platforms, he said it's a good and a bad thing because anybody can just rap. And he said, not everybody's that good. He said, anybody can just put shit out there now. And he was talking about how easy it is, but he said the flip side is to it, stuff like you're talking about, right? Where now there's that vessel or that venue that for somebody who's approaching it from the angle you're approaching it, You know, you have that, you have that angle now. You didn't have that years ago, right?
No.
Nah, I mean, we know, Taja, you know this too, being in music for years, going back to the 80s and 90s. Nah, it was about, man, you had to get out there, hustle and grind. You know, if you didn't get your shit on the radio, nobody even had a clue who you were unless you were in that whole underground scene. You had to either know somebody, you know, that was in the clubs, know somebody who was, you know, DJing at certain locations, whether it was house parties, jams, clubs. I mean, if you didn't have that connection back then, nobody knew who the fuck you were outside. I'm not talking about locally in your area, but it was tough.
Right.
Beniti, but if you go beyond that, right? Exactly what he's talking about. It wasn't even about like get at least in Philly. I mean, like getting on the radio was like something that was
one in a million.
One in a million. Like for us, it was about your crew. You know what I'm saying? You go into the house parties, whatever. You go into the the BSUs at school and stuff like that. It was about the love, like he's saying, basically. Like it wasn't really a motivation. Like kids nowadays, I think they get motivated by, well, they see the cars, they see the jewels, they know, it's multi-platinum artists out there. Right. But for us, it was about the love of the music, the love of the art form. You know what I mean? It was about, back then you in school, you spit something. It wasn't everybody that could do that. You know what I mean? And it wasn't everybody's aspiration to do that. You know what I'm saying? So, right. It like what he's speaking about, when No Face is speaking about purity, that's the ultimate purity right there. Like that's taking it back to the beginning.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so let's go back there. Let's shift this since we're talking about 50 years of hip hop. And that's kind of what I want to see people when we talk about the origin and the history. And when we go back to a time before it was infiltrated, literally, before the big record execs and all the big production companies and A&Rs, got their hands on the music, before it was, like you say, it got to that form, which comes a little bit later. I mean, I want to talk about some defining moments now. I can go back, like you say, it was for the love of the culture. And I there's a couple of things that I was thinking about it today. And I said, what were some of the most influential moments? Because to me, when I look at my life, my upbringing, hip hop culture and music is a huge influence to who I am today, 100%.
No doubt.
It influenced me in everything you're saying, spiritually. It taught me the reality of life. It taught me about what was going on out here. And it was good to hear anyway, during them periods where people were rapping about, MCs were talking about what was going on out here in general. But I can tell you my first introduction to it, I always have to go back to the early 80s when breakdancing really broke on the scene. That's probably Wild Style. And I remember there's a scene in the Flashdance movie that stood out to me, that scene on the corner where you see the Puerto Rican kid breakdancing. And matter of fact, that song, that hook he's breakdancing to, Rakim used that on Follow the Leader album. It was a track he had sampled that. So all this stood out to me. And I remember seeing that. And then obviously Beat Street probably was the one. Beat Street took me over the top. That was like, I was all in after Beat Street and breaking. But Beat Street motivated us to start our own crew. It was called the U. And we did it for shock value. It was called USSR, right? Because what was going on at the time, the Cold War with Russia. Because back then we used to wear the baseball, we used to call them baseball shirts. They were 3/4 sleeves. So our colors were royal purple and white. And USSR stood for United Supersonic Rockets. And we had our name on the back with our
real hip hop.
Yeah. We had our windbreakers, and then our sneakers. But all of that was inspired by the breakdance culture, the Beat Street movie, breaking. This is when I started getting into groups at that time, like Divine Sounds, Nucleus, Grandmaster Melly Mel, and the Furious Five. And as I mentioned before, Raheem the Ladies Dream, who's one of the original members, who just came out and didn't, because they were beefing. I don't know if you saw Raheem recently, about 4 weeks ago, came out and offered a what do they call that? When somebody wants to apologize, they offer
olive branch.
Yeah, he offered an olive branch to squash the beef that they all had together. I rented my first apartment in Queens. He had a 2-story house. I rented my first apartment from him right off of 165th and Farmers, right by Rochdale Village. I rented an apartment for him for almost 2 years. And it's crazy. And I saw him do that video, and I was like, man, this is how people are tapping in. It's 50 years, but when you go back to those time frames and those periods, look, I mentioned many times before, a lot of that stuff kept us out of getting into fights, crime, killing each other. We were battling each other down at roller skating rinks. Anywhere that had a slick surface is where everybody used to meet up. We met up at bowling alleys, bro. That's how, it was anywhere. Yeah, on the street, you could throw the cardboard down, or someone would have the vinyl floor and all that shit. But back then, as you said, Taj, because it all sparked, we were doing it for the love of it, because it was a culture. It had all the elements. It had, a graffiti. And I've said many times before, in my opinion, the art of DJing is a lost fucking art. I'm sorry. It's now you got the electronic, computerized DJ where you don't got to do nothing but hit a couple buttons.
Right.
That was defining moments for me. And then obviously it takes me, as you get, living with the beauty of it is somebody my age lived and saw outside of the very early 70s, because I'm born 71, but seeing the transitions from the early 80s to the present day, it's like, man, you just see how it's changed, good and bad, obviously.
Correct.
But I think I call it the golden era of hip hop. I think then when you get from the Run DMC era moving forward, I think that was the official shift into hip hop being birthed into what it became. Go ahead.
From my perspective, because I'm a younger generation too, so I caught I'm born 92. So I caught the early 2000s, but like if you think about the flow and the cadence, I always think about the cadence and how people were rapping. Like hip hop is not, I feel like that it's not too far away from Run DMC, like today.
No.
If you look at like, if you want to be real, like it may be like but like that cadence, like that's still it's still used today, if you want to say.
Well, I think you have certain artists who have been able to adjust their flow over time, but stay true to what they were. And these are some of your artists that got longevity. Wu-Tang, obviously, one of them. Method Man, Redman. Redman's still doing a lot of stuff, and his flow. It's hard to stay true to your flow. So how do you stay true to really what you are without changing so much? Because what happened, some artists got lost in the mix because they tried to stay current and they strayed so far from what they were, and it just didn't work for some artists. Just some it worked for. LL Cool J is probably another one that comes to mind.
I agree.
He's been able, to transition his flow. It's a tough. Nas, obviously, Jay-Z. To me, though, when you get into somebody like Jay-Z, this is just me not hating. I don't really care for the new Jay in the last, 8 to 10 years. Not a huge fan. I really think like it's quick work. Like I just don't really. It doesn't gauge up to me of his earlier work, right?
But he said dumb it down, like to like double his dollars. He made a statement like how he was dumbing down his music, like so it could sell.
Well, what was that album he did? Was it the Black Album it was really short? I thought that shit was trash. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it was a throwaway.
You compare it to his first 3, 4, 5 albums.
Reasonable Doubt, that was
Reasonable Doubt's a classic.
Yeah, no doubt.
It's a classic.
Crazy.
So it's hard when you but then you got guys like Big Daddy Kane and Rakim, and as you see, there's a lot of old school artists still touring and still sound just as good. Now, even like when you listen to Kane and Rakim rapping, they're rapping their original lyrics from the 80s and 90s over the same tracks, but it still sounds like back then, but it sounds adjusted for today. Like
Right.
Rakim's the master of that. If you listen to Rakim, and let's just say you a younger cat
Mhm.
and you don't really know much about Rakim, and you listen to Rakim, didn't even know his history, didn't even know the music he put out, you would think that was a cat that was out right now today.
Right. Agree.
You
Yeah,
know.
and cadence was timeless. Like it was like 101, you
Yeah.
know. So like again, that transcended time too. Like once you hear that. Mm-hmm.
Taja, so what was some of your origin or defining moments? Like what, when you go back and think about it, like
Oh man.
year, what was the year? What was the influence?
I mean, you know, in I mean, a lot of people debate as far as like the spread of hip hop, as far as like
Mhm.
those tapes that were going around, you know, the city of New York. And they ended up of course, we not far, so they ended up here.
Sure.
And we had you know, people like Cosmic Kev, um, you know, several others, Jazzy Jeff, people like that that were big back in the day, doing, you know, house parties, block parties, stuff like that. And
Mm-hmm.
you know, so that to me was just normal. That was that, you know, it was something to see, but it was normal. You know what I'm saying? And for me, like I actually ended up moving to Jersey for a little while from like I don't know, I want to say like 80 to 84. And being out there, I met this dude who exposed me to New York radio, because he had a little hookup in his room with metal wires hooked to his antenna on his radio, and every Saturday night, you know, he'd be trying to hear Rap Attack, and if it was a clear night, it come straight through, we record. And that's really, I think, when I fell in love with it. Was like, man, like just all the different artists, and you know, it was like, it was, you know, we had Lady B, and Lady B was cool, but it was like something else to hear like the newest shit coming out of New York. And you know, it was just like really, like, you know, it's like I was glued Saturday night with you know, Rap Attack, and then, you know, for Lady B was on Sunday, so I was every weekend I was like with my tape deck trying to record everything, you know what I'm saying? Anything and everything, and just rock it the whole week after. And people, yo,
What you
who's that?
use? Did
Where'd you get that from?
you use Memorex or TDK? What was your choice?
Whatever I can get my hands on, bro.
Me
Whatever
too.
I, yo, listen, I had so Memorex, TDK,
I'm missing another one I used to use all the time.
yeah. I was just trying to think of that. But so those was like the mainstays. But
Yeah.
every now and then it would be like you be in a store and you see them, you know,
Like
it's
some
like
no-name brand, yeah.
five
Yeah,
tapes
yeah,
for $1. You grab them Jones and you record on them, man. But they
Maybe
eat your
used to
joint up, man. It was crazy. But look, that's how I learned to, you know, take the screws out the tape,
Yep.
you know, and a little bit of
That was
scotch
heavy
tape
work,
and
bro.
with a razor blade and tape it
With a
together.
razor
So,
blade, yeah, I'm about to
bro,
say the razor, but that was work, bro. Oh, if your favorite tape popped, oh,
oh my
forget it.
God,
Yo,
yes,
you were
that's
like
how
a
you had to learn how to
surgeon.
do that.
You were like a surgeon in the surgery room, boy. You was going to work.
Absolutely,
Like you said, you got the little small Phillips screwdriver. You were taking the
yeah,
screws out. You were taking that baby apart and putting it back together like a surgeon, man.
like
Yeah.
brain surgery for sure.
Especially like you say, if it was something you recorded off the radio, because you know you couldn't capture that mix again, man. You wasn't
Never
gonna get it.
again. Yeah, exactly,
So
exactly.
I mean, it's just those things, man. I
That's the
remember in
love
ninth
for
and
that.
10th grade. Yeah.
Yeah,
I remember in ninth and 10th grade, right after school, almost every day religiously, my boy Ralph, he was one of the first dudes in the whole crew that got turntables. So it was like a everyday ritual. Monday, we would leave school. We'd stop at the corner store, get us, you know, something to drink, a few snacks, you know, just some food, junk food to chill on. We go into Ralph's room, man. He'd just pull out the crates, and we'd just be freestyling, listening to records. I would say I fully got submerged 85, 86, and 87. I was knee deep in. That was it. It was a wrap.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, now, no face. I know you come a little bit later. You come more towards the boom bap era, right? So
Yeah.
You come early 90s, like, you know, Wu-Tang 92, 93, when they first came out. It was that was a good era too, them early 90s, mid 90s. I
Some
think
people call it the golden age.
yeah, it was. I think where it was the golden age, in my opinion, leading almost to the beginning, to me, of where it kind of took a slide. I think as we get into the 2000s, slowly, it just, this is where I have a problem with it. Yeah, again, like I said, I don't want nobody to take it wrong. Part of it, obviously, my era, right? I get it.
It's like a shift. I was like, it was a different shift that just kind of just, the essence when you know it's like kind of gone now for real. Like, you know.
Yeah, well, I think once, and again, I'm just going to use a loose term, the powers that be saw how much money it could make, it went to shit. It just, I think it got so corrupted because once they saw the amount of money that this could make, then anybody and their mother was just singing about nothing.
Right.
You know, you just, all you got to do today is say, I mean, you could come up with a phrase, drop that ass, drop that ass. Just say that 1,000,000 times over a beat, you got a hit. You know, or you know, just come up with some catchphrase that you can repetitively put over a track. Now, it's crazy because, and I've said that before in the past, another thing, I'm going to be referring to that Ed Lover interview a lot. And he's like, he said, that's why they call it a hook, because it gets you hooked. It's the part of the song that hooks you. And he was talking about that, how you could just, you don't really need nowadays. I'm saying if you just in it, you know, to make a quick buck, he's like, he said, nowadays, you don't even need to write a full song with lyrics. You just need to write a hook and put it over the beat.
And it's catchy. It's like a,
that's where we at. But we don't want to focus on that because we're talking about the 50 years of hip hop. So
I was more if you want me, like, I feel like when y'all was talking about, you know, turning to a surgeon to, you know, get the tape to work, like that's a different level of love, I feel like, because like, you know, it's too easy accessible to us, you know, this generation. But like that right there, like the work y'all had to go through is like, that's different, you know.
Look, we used to be known in New York, like everybody, we were the backpack kids. Like you didn't see us anywhere. We had a backpack, the jam packs, and loaded with tapes. We had batteries. We had our Walkmans. There's nowhere you didn't see us without music. And then back then, I mean, you probably know this. Your dad probably told you, Taja. I know you know this, Philly, New York. You know, back then you had shit, which wasn't right, but I ain't gonna front. I used to get a lot of my music there in the 80s and 90s. There was a lot of bootleggers on the streets. So, man, you'd go out, and back then there was deals. You know, it was kind of fucked up because the artists were against it. It wasn't making no money. But, yo, you had dudes, you go out there with like 30, 40 bucks. You was getting, they're giving you deals. You getting like, you walking away with 8, 9, 10, 11 cassettes.
Yeah.
You know, when the cassette thing came in, you know, I mean, I go back to collecting vinyl, but when the cassettes came out, we thought it was the coolest shit because it was a way to port, you know, having your music with you everywhere you went. With vinyls, it was a little different. You had to play that stationary. But when you had cassettes, I mean, that changed the whole game because now you had kids, you know, I used to ride the trains. I always had my backpack. I had my Walkman or then my CD player later when CDs came out. It's just, it revolutionized things. But I think, as I say, when you go back and you look at it, seeing that transition, even talking about how it went from vinyl to cassette, you know, to CD, but now obviously everything is streamed, right? It's changed the game. I don't even know. Does anybody even go in the stores anymore? I mean, outside of DJs, does anybody like?
It's like,
does that still exist? Do they still sell CDs?
Yeah,
bro. I don't think there are any stores anymore, bro. I mean, aside from like, you know, the little shops you might find here and there. You know what I mean?
What about Best Buy? Do they still sell CDs or no?
I have no idea.
Yeah, I mean, just how drastically, you know, it's changed. And it's a good thing and it's a bad thing.
But speaking about stores, like I remember I lived like walking distance 15 minutes from the mall, and they had I think it was want to say it was Sam Goody or something like that.
Oh yeah.
And dude, like as soon as I knew somebody was dropping, I'd be running up there every single time, man. And that's like that was my thing. Like I want to hear the next artist coming out. I want to hear the album, especially if I love them. Like I want to hear the album. You know what I'm saying? So, like you said, No Face. It's just the level of love. You know, the shit that we went through. You know, to listen to it on the radio. You know, like I said, in New York and then here in Philly, like in Philly, it was just like Lady B's show was, I think might have been from noon to 3. So it wasn't like, you know, there was no other hip hop on the radio at all. You know what I'm saying? At least not here. So
Facts. You right.
Yeah. But what you just described, see, that was the enjoyment. And it's funny again. I got to refer to that interview with Ed Lover. That's what he was saying too. The difference with now it's streaming. It's so easy. It's accessible. You can get it like that. Back there, you see, to me, and I mentioned that on a previous show, it was that whole experience, like you just described, that anticipation. It was the journey going down. We had 2 record spots where I used to go to. There was one in Long Island in Nassau County, Shoppers Village. They had a dude who was in there sold the 12 inches, the albums. And remember, sometimes back then they would release the single first off the album, right?
Yeah.
And the album wasn't out yet. And then you keep checking, all right, the 12-inch dropped, but the whole album didn't drop yet.
Right.
And then I used to go to up to Jamaica Avenue near the Coliseum in Queens, and there was a record store, I believe it's still there. I mean, well, now it's a little different. That was there for years, right when you came off the bus, right at the bus terminal there. And the bus terminal there used to run from Nassau to Queens. And it was just that, like you say, it was just that whole feeling when you knew. And I can't describe it. It's like a book. It's like I say, reading a book. Like having the album in your hand, you know, I know this might sound a little crazy or corny, you know, smelling the vinyl, like just the smell of the record, you know, peeling the plastic off. I mean, little shit like that.
Yeah.
You know, oh no, somebody got background noise. I don't know what that is.
I think he's moving.
Yeah, maybe if you're moving around, just mute yourself. Yeah, there you go. Now it's all right now.
Okay, my fault.
Yeah. If you move around, just mute yourself because it'll pick up everything. But yeah, to me, it was that whole experience. I mean, I remember as a kid, you know, just getting dressed up, getting on the bus. You know, you want to wear your flyers gear, hoping to run into some girls while you're on the bus, head up to the record store. You know, it was just a whole experience, man.
Yeah.
Now a motherfucker come out with an album, you got Amazon or Spotify or some shit. I mean, it's just like and the younger kids don't, you know, the newer generation, they might say, man, who gives a fuck?
Yeah,
like,
they don't have that appreciation at all.
Nah, I mean, if you never would understand the experience, you know, if you just didn't have it, man. You know what I'm saying?
It's
And like you said,
oversaturated.
and like you said, be like the industry ruined all that. You know what I mean? They robbed these kids of that experience because you know, it's about $1 now. You know what I'm saying? And
yeah, it's definitely changed, right? So now when we go from the early years, right, as I was saying, you know, in the very beginning, we didn't finish elaborating on that. Now you go back to the 70s and the very early 80s. When you look at some of the pioneers that we were talking about, like Grandmaster Melly Mel and the Furious Five, DJ Kool Herc, Divine Sounds. If you look at, let's talk about how this is going to be interesting, especially when it gets up today. Let's talk about some of the cultural aspects of hip hop and how it's evolved over 50 years. Let's start with the dress. We got to start there because hip hop has always been identified with a certain style of dress, even to this day. Now it's a little, in my opinion, it's a little fucked up today because you got motherfuckers wearing dresses now, and that's acceptable. You got motherfuckers wearing skinny jeans, look like they're wearing their little brothers or their little sisters' jeans. And that's it. Look, I'm all for form-fitting jeans. You know, I'm not talking about you got to be wearing, you know, Das Effects baggy jeans from the early 90s, but damn, some of these jeans is just a little too excessive, bro.
Leaves were form fitting, bro. You know what I mean? They just wasn't. They just didn't cut off your circulation.
No, well, so we had this. All right, so that's what I want to get into. We had the straight-legged leads, the pinstripe leads, with the
Right.
crease down the center. They were straight-legged because they were form-fitting, but they
Right.
wasn't nut huggers, bro.
Right.
I mean, you see cats today. I call them. It's like, and again, no offense to anybody, I call it like it's like homo thug style. It's like cats is wearing tight-ass skinny jeans with their pants sagging and their underwear showing. I'm like, what is that?
Right.
Like, that's confusion to me, man.
Yeah.
Like, you don't know how that looks to me. Is just, well, first of all, the sagging pants thing, that's a whole nother story. But let's go back first. Before we get to those points, we got to go back to the early 70s and 80s. We've talked about this, Taja. You've brought this up many times before in the past, where you had cats. You hit it on the head. I mean, they definitely were influenced by, Parliament and George Clinton, because if you look at the way Africa Bambaataa dressed, if you look at the way Grandmaster Melly Mel and the Furious Five dressed, it was like the rabbit tails, the big rabbit tails, furs, leather vests, studs, cowboy hats. It's like, it was fucking bizarre in the beginning, man.
Yeah. And the funny thing is that Run DMC, they say that those pioneers kind of like clowned them for wearing the sweatsuits and the Adidas and the leather jackets instead of getting dressed up in all this regalia. You know what I'm saying? But I credit them for taking it back to the street. You know what I mean? Because they were about whoever came up with the idea, like let's put on what the people that live next door have on. You know what I mean? And that's kind of like where it kind of took that direction from.
100% agree with you. I'm not gonna lie, during that, and a lot of those artists that were dressing like that at the time, that was in the early 80s breakdance era. You saw it shift a little bit. Like, that's why Beach Street attracted me, because Beach Street portrayed just like dudes you grew up with, like you said, they was wearing the sneakers, the jeans, they had the airbrush jackets and the airbrush shirts. Right. And a lot of that obviously was attributed to DMC, because DMC had been out. And I think that's when you hit it, you nailed it on the head. I think that's when hip hop culture went to the next level and really connected to the root of the streets, if you want to say. And I always was fascinated with that when I first saw, I told you, the one item I absolutely had to have, I'll never forget it. When the Raising Hell album came out and they were on the cover with them goose downs, bro, it was a wrap. I had to get one. I remember I saved 2 paychecks for that shit. Because at that time, I told you, I got me the Black Panther leather with the Panther collar, black leather, $186 on the app. Now, back in 1986, well, $197 with tax, almost $200. That's a lot of money back in 1986. So all those things, I agree with you 100%. We saw them wearing the sneakers, the leather jackets.
You talk about goose. I don't know about anybody else, but I didn't even know what a goose was. Like, I heard Shantae talk about it with the Me and Biz, that freestyle she did, and then I started seeing them. And that, like you said, I fell in love with them. I was like, yo, that's just crazy. Yeah.
And I mean, it just influenced so many things. So we leave the George Parliament P-Funk dress as we shift and get later to the mid to late 80s. Now you see, we see the sweatsuits. That was big in the 80s. You had the Feli suits, the MCM, Troop. You had Adidas, right? Ti, yeah. I mean, I'm probably missing a few.
Feli.
Well, yeah, Feli for sure. Now it's funny because Feli, Pony, a lot of these brands are making their comebacks now, man.
I was wearing Feli's in 2000 when I moved out to the South. Feli's was like popping when it was about 2004, 2005. Like, it was a thing in school for us to have, the Feli's.
Oh wow, that's crazy.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
That was the thing. That and Reeboks, we used to call them soldiers. down south. So I remember when felines was like a thing in my generation too as well. You know.
Yeah.
Bro,
Yeah.
when felines was big in the 80s, man, they was like, it was kind of like how people were with the shell toes. Like you had to get the newest, like if they came out with a new color, you know, I remember when they first came out with the red felines. Oh my God.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I had a pair of those, man. I had
Yeah.
a pair of the red joints.
I had to get them Jones.
Yeah. And the it started a whole new thing, that sneaker culture, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Now,
For sure.
sneakerheads, right? Today, you still got dudes that are sneakerheads. They collect. I mean, it's a little outrageous nowadays.
Yeah, a little extra.
Shit. And then obviously you can't forget, and I believe it was 85 or 84 when the first red and black Jordans came out. That changed the whole game. Everybody had to get, when the Jordans first came out in the early to mid 80s, man.
Crazy to be around during that time, and it's just a regular in my age, like in
listen, man.
How much weight the shoe holds in school, and down to classism and like social, like it get crazy now. I'm thinking about it. I used to draw Jordans when I was like in 6th grade. I was like, damn, I can't get these pair, but I used to draw them shit. But it's funny for you to talk about when it first dropped.
But no face, that's why, bro. That's why it's like that. Go ahead. I'm sorry, B.
No. Go ahead.
No, I'm just saying that's why it's like that, because of what developed back then. You know, the sweatsuits, the sneakers, all of that. That's what created that culture for now.
I mean, I was huge. I mean, I used to wear them to school all the time, man. I mean, there was a period you would see me in a sweatsuit. I mean, I was known for that shit. They used to call me Sweatsuit Mike sometimes, literally, because I had every sweatsuit that was out. That was my shit.
And B,
go ahead.
Did y'all used to go to AC to the Gucci shop?
Oh hell yeah, shit yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
They had Gucci sneakers, Gucci sweatsuits.
All that, all that shit. Now I wasn't big on the MCM. I thought the MCM was a little cheesy.
Right.
I mean, there were some nice ones. I hated the MCM hats. I don't know. It was just something about it. Because remember, MCM used to come out with some of the sweatsuits. They had the matching hats. Some cats, like the Gucci ones, were nicer. The Gucci sweatsuits with the matching hats, to me, were much nicer. To me, I always felt like MCM was trying to be a replica of Gucci when they came out with that stuff.
Exactly.
It was big. I mean, there were some cats that were huge on the MCM, but I didn't really care for it.
Me either.
But there was that, and then remember the airbrush shirts. You go down. You get your name or something. We got to talk about, airbrushing was big in the 80s, mid to late 80s, early 90s. Kind of tailed off after that.
2000s, I caught the tail end of that airbrush. It was in middle school for me. Yeah.
It tailed off in the 90s for whatever reason. I don't know. But I mean, I know there was cats that had airbrush spots in indoor markets or malls, and they was making a killing.
It's different.
But that kind of faded, but that was big for a while. And obviously your jewelry game had to be tight. But hold on, we're missing a couple other facts. We can't forget the sheepskin, right? We can't forget, the raccoon hats, the gazelles. Yep. Remember the gazelles? They were just glasses with no frames. It was a style.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, these were some of the things that in the early to mid 80s, I'm going to say, as you leave in the early 80s, getting into the mid 80s, a lot of cats wore the straight-legged Lees with the sheepskin, the polo shirts. Remember the polo shirts?
Yeah.
Oh no, I'm forgetting one. Can't forget the La Tigra. Remember the La Tigra?
La Tigra.
Used to have the matching La Tigra shirt with the Lee jeans, sheepskin. So see, these were the things I think is what now hip hop was really starting to connect with the youth, because, like you say, the youth now started to see themselves in this stuff. And then to me, this is where I know my interest became, strong. And now we're going into that shift that you mentioned earlier, Taj. I think Run DMC. And again, I mean, it's up for dispute. I'm sure there might have been other artists at the time doing stuff, but I'm saying were the first well-known
on a major platform, right?
Platform. I think they were the group that shifted now hip hop into a different era right? Where it was more lyrical. Production started to change. But with the fashion, man, let's even go into the jewelry game, right?
I was just about to bring that up.
We have to go with the jewelry game, the gold fronts, right? Now, there's difference between caps and fronts, which some people may or may not know. You know, if you didn't have that much money, you had caps, right? You would get 2 caps for the front, 2 for the bottom. If you had money, you'd get a grill. Some dudes, now I know that was more bigger down south than it was up north.
Yeah.
Some motherfuckers would get real gold teeth. They didn't really do that up north.
Yeah,
Nah, they did that. They got grills. But I remember coming down my first time ever coming down south, my first fucking time. And I took a Greyhound. And you know Greyhound stops every motherfucking where.
I did that before.
Oh, horrifying. I remember when my father first bought a house in Florida in 1988. It's the first time I ever ventured out of New York. Well, I want to say out of New York, but out of the Northeast. And I remember just stopping places. Like, it was culture shock to stop in like the Carolinas.
For sure.
Just to see shit. It was just a bunch of shit was weird to me. But I remember coming down here in the 80s, and I would come back and forth a few times to visit my father, and the bass movement was huge down here with Luke and the 2 Live crew. And a lot of these cats, you know, I remember coming down here, and we used to, you know, go to some clubs down here when we could, because we used to run the game, you know, we're a group from New York, you know, used to run that game, get fake names and, you know, the whole shit. And a lot of cats had real gold teeth. I mean, it were like gold teeth. It wasn't like fronts. It wasn't grills, and it wasn't caps.
Yeah, perms. Yep.
So that's a normal thing that they used to do, you know, down here. But during them times too, as we in them 80s, you know, it was, you might have had, you know, it was gold teeth. It was the 2-3 fingered rings, the nameplates.
Yo, I remember when I first learned about fake gold, B.
Oh shit.
The fucking ropes was big back then, if you remember.
Yeah.
And all the rappers had the big dookie ropes, you know. And, you know, obviously you're not going to ask, you know, or even attempt to try to buy that shit because the fucking little ones was expensive.
Right.
But I was downtown, and you know, they had the little street hustlers. Oh man, I got this chain, man. It's $10. You know, blah 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 blah, and shit turned green on you.
Instantly.
Oh yeah, listen, man.
But I'll say this too. It was back then. It was nothing more beautiful to me than seeing a female with them damn bamboo earrings on. Oh my god,
bangles and a bamboo.
Yeah,
yes,
different.
Yes,
that's
sir.
A different level of beauty right there.
Listen, man.
It was like we became, you know, and that's like the beauty of the culture. Like we became and embraced ourselves. You know what I mean? It was like our parents were telling us like, that music ain't gonna last, and why you wearing this, and why you doing that. And it was kind of like we just turned a deaf ear, and just like we just all gravitated towards ourselves, and it was like this thing that just was self-sufficient, just fed itself. You know what I mean?
Like
in so many different ways. In so many different ways.
Oh yeah, I mean, when you bring up the hip hop female at that time. Oh my god, man.
I want a girl with extensions in her hair, bamboo earrings, at least 2 pairs.
See, my shit back then was always girls with short hair. I don't know what it was. Even to this day, like chicks with froze, like nice low pro froze cut.
Right.
It's always natural hair for me.
That's a different level of beauty.
Yeah, I don't know what it was. Like you say, a girl with short hair with the big bamboo earrings, like, yo, you had my attention, you know. And just the styles that, you know, later I wasn't really too big. I mean, a lot of that, when we get into the baggy movement, we'll talk about that in a second. But when you look at it, like where a lot of the girls were dressing in the 80s and the very early 90s, yeah, they had their own style.
Yeah,
too. You know,
no doubt. You know, and when girls started rocking Timbos, oh, what? Forget it, bro. I was done. Like, yo, that was the sexiest thing in the world to me. Like, you know what I mean? Just
now it's just, yeah, this is what I'm saying. So when we talking about, you know, 50 years of hip hop, Yeah, it's the music, no doubt, but it's influenced culture in general, fashion, the way we dress, the way we talk, the way we look, the jewelry game, all of this. I mean, even to this day. Now, again, when we get later up, I have my thoughts on what's going on now, but that's a whole nother story. Probably a whole nother show, but anyway.
Yeah.
You know, then when you now transition up, so it influenced the jewelry game. We saw, you know, like we said, we had the straight-legged Lees. We had, you know, the sweatsuits. We had the airbrush shirt. We had all this shit. Polos, La Tigra. I mean, this was all the shit that we was rocking back then. The sneaker game, right? Then it shifted again when we get into leaving the early 90s, going into the mid 90s, the boom bap era. Now it was the baggy and saggy look, right? It drastically shift, right? Now, me, I've always been a dude. Yes, I was wearing, you would label baggy jeans at that time, but I was never excessive one way or the other.
Right.
Like today, I don't know. Yeah, you look outdated if you're wearing super baggy jeans. I wear jeans, you know, now that form fitting, but not tight as ass where it's hugging my nuts and they ball huggers.
Yeah,
right?
they be wild.
I say that because back then, yeah, I'd wear baggy jeans, but some of these cats, like you saw, we all knew some cats that was wearing like 2-3 sizes too big for them. The shirts where the shoulder line starting here and shit.
Yeah.
And the shirts going like almost down to their knees. Like, see, I was never into that shit.
Right.
I thought that shit was crazy looking.
Yeah.
But now in the early to mid 90s, the boom bap era, which put out a lot of great music, man. A lot.
Yeah, no doubt.
I could throw some artists out. Yeah. Cellar Dwellers I was listening to last week. They only put out one out, man.
Yeah.
They talk about an album. And they're talking about sorcery, wizardry.
Yeah.
They're talking about the occult. If you've never heard that album, go watch it.
Yeah.
Cellar Dwellers. It's a group that was out in the 90s from New York. They only put out one album.
Really?
It's CELLADWELLAS or AZ, it could be. But check their album out, man. They're talking about doing magic, sorcery. He got a song where he talks about he goes into his basement and it opens the door to the abyss. I mean, they just dropping science. And he's got that album came out in 95, if I'm not mistaken. So
somewhere around it.
Yeah, they were on some occult. They had some occult knowledge, the Cellar Dwellers, for sure. Because they constantly talk about sorcery and wizardry. But when we get into that era, now you got the baggy jeans, you know, baggy t-shirts, you know.
That was the backpack era.
The backpack era, you know, cats was the backpacks, Timberland boots, you know, what's that? Was it No Face? What's the jacket? What's that jacket that everybody was wearing?
North Face.
Yep.
I'm thinking of you, bro.
That's funny. Nah, man.
Yeah, North Face. Which still
Hey, No Face. He's being prophetic. You got your line coming out soon.
I had No Face in my head. I was like, wait, that's No Face. The North Face jacket.
Use that for a bar later. I like that.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So so now it's baggy and saggy, which got a bit excessive. I wasn't into all that crisscross shit, wearing it backwards. That shit was just
not at all.
Again, I was a little concerned for hip hop at that time. I'm not gonna lie. I said, well, all right, this got to be a fad. I was okay with the loose and baggy, just to a degree. And I was a little concerned. I was like, I hope this shit don't get too fucking bizarre. I would never wear that wearing backward. That shit didn't really catch on after Crisscross died out. That shit kind of was kind of whack.
Let me ask you this, B. Did you ever had a box haircut?
Tried, but because getting the box haircut, because of having straight hair, it was tough.
Okay.
So yes, I had a barber that could cut it. I tried it a few times. I didn't like it because it was too much upkeep.
Yo, no lie, my grandparents was like, you are not getting a box set. That's for those little gangsters running around. You know that, you know what I mean? It had a stigma to them. Like, nah.
Like my hair is like straight. It when it grows a little longer, it'll get a little. It's too straight. It was too straight for it.
Right.
So what happens is I could do it the way the barber used to cut it up, but it was just too much upkeep. You know, you'd have to you'd have to put like gel and stuff in.
Yeah, and keep it. Yeah, I got you. I
I was
got you.
like, nah, fuck that. So I was always back then. I was big on the Caesars with the part. You know,
Right.
where you get something carved in the back of your head.
Yeah,
You know, I get the
That was
NYC.
something else too. That was something putting your name and all that in the side of your head with the
Yeah,
face.
That was big. You know, you get the 2 lines on the side,
Yeah.
a little squiggly up here. Yeah, that was my shit.
And some people do the Big Daddy Kane slicing the eyebrow type thing.
I did that once. I didn't like it. I looked surprised when I did that.
I did that before.
I didn't like the way that shit looked. So yeah, I fuck with all that, or the little lines in the stash. You know. Yeah. Nah, that stuff just didn't go over too good with me. I kept it clean, fresh, basic, for the most part. But I had friends. One style I fucking hated, and my boy Joe used to wear it all the time, and he wore it good because he looked like Bobby Brown, literally. And he was one of them pretty boys who danced, went in the clubs. You know, he was a dancer. Don't get me wrong. He used to dance his ass off. Tall, dark-skinned cat. Looked just like, I swear he looked like Bobby Brown. He used to rock the Gumby. I used to
The Gumby.
fucking hairstyle, bro. Hated it.
Yeah, I never was a fan. That was EST shit though, bro.
Yeah. No, well, EST rocked it good. Kwame rocked it good.
Right.
Right? But there was some cats that they just didn't have the shape head for that shit.
Yeah,
you
true.
Gotta have it to me, it's like if a dude wear a baldy, you got to have a right head to wear a baldy.
That's true.
If a dude wore a Gumby, he had to have the right head to wear a Gumby.
That's true.
Right? I mean, you can't wear a baldy. You got a pack of Franks on the back of your neck. You know what I mean? Like your neck started at the back of your forehead. It's like, nah, dude. It's not. But yeah, the Gumby, the fade, the high top fade, as they called it, the box.
Right.
You know, the high top fade was used like Kane. I think Kane rocked the best high top fade than anybody out there. His fade was impeccable, bro.
Yeah.
He influenced. I know in New York at that time, especially when his first album came out, "Long Live the Kane," and he's sitting on on the album cover in the chair. His high top fade was impeccable, bro. So many cats I grew up with would try to go to the barbers. They would literally say, "Give me a cane, hook me up with a cane." And
I think I see an image floating around him getting the line up by his barber.
Man, listen,
I seen that somewhere.
Him and Scoop and Scrap Lover.
Yeah,
and Kid had a nice high top fade too.
Oh yeah. They had it, but to me, hands down, the high top fade champion was Big Daddy Kane, man. His shit,
no doubt,
bro.
No doubt.
I mean, if you look at how clean his shit was faded, how they shaped it up, and plus he had the perfect shape head and face for the high top.
True.
You know, and then Rakim's fade, his box fade was rough. It was grimy, not in a bad way. He rocked it a little different because he had the high top fade, but he used to put that extreme part in it. On the first 2 albums. It used to always stand out to me. And they used to start here and they used to go all the way back. I mean, cats got creative with the hairstyles back then, man.
Bro, yo, Baniti, that was my shit, dude. Like I go to the barber and I used to come up with shit before I go to the barber shop. Like, and the barber used to hate to see me coming because it was an older dude. He'd be like, why you doing all that? I'm like, bro, like, I'm paying you. Can you just I want a line here, a line here.
The way I want it. No, let's speak on that. Now, I'll be honest with you, my whole entire life, I stayed loyal to a barber. I wasn't one of them cats that jumped from barber to barber. I had the same barber for years.
Same here.
Barber here because I'm real particular with that.
Right.
And that was part of growing up. You were loyal to your barber, man. You know what I mean? It was part of the culture, right? I went to the same cat for almost my entire teenage adult life, literally in New York. And if I go back to this day, if I visit, I'll still go see him.
Right.
Okay. That was part of the process when you grew up in that era too, man. You had to have the right barber.
No doubt.
Man, a barber was essential, bro.
Oh, no doubt. You was lost if you ain't have a bar. If you ain't have a cut, you was lost.
And then I remember a couple. We all can reflect a few times here and there where we couldn't get to our barber and we might have had an event. And I think about a few times I went somewhere else and I didn't even feel right.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
got cut and you were overanalyzing. You were like,
Yeah,
man,
yeah.
man, this shit
Every
don't
little
feel
thing.
right. Man,
This
you
shit
fucked
fuck
up.
everything up.
Yeah,
The
here,
thing should
line
have
me up
been
right
here.
over here.
Yeah.
Yo, the
Jeez.
barber was an intense. I look at the
Passion.
barber as a part of hip hop culture. I mean,
Oh, no
Mhm.
doubt. For sure.
the
For sure.
barber is a
Absolutely.
part of hip hop culture because
Damn.
that was a place
Yep.
we went to chill, talk, listen to music. We still do today.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You know, sports, music,
Wow.
and most
Yeah.
barbers got good conversation. Most
Oh,
barbers.
for sure.
Mhm.
And if the barber don't, the shop does, you know.
Yeah, you gonna get all type of shit in the shop.
Everybody waiting to always come up with something, you know what I mean?
Tell me.
Some kind of
Yup.
some kind of philosophical argument, sports argument,
Oh, shit.
whatever.
I see
Religious,
so much shit
spiritual
in
arguments.
Yeah,
barbershop. That's
yeah,
crazy.
Man.
yeah.
Yeah, so we in the 90s now. It's baggy and saggy. It stayed like that for a while, you know, wearing baseball caps backwards or over your eyes to the side. We started to see the football jerseys didn't come till later, but I remember in the late 80s, early 90s, cats was wearing a lot of baseball jerseys.
Baseball ones, yeah.
Yeah, with
Yeah,
matching
baseball for
caps,
sure.
you know.
Yeah.
You started to see, I think hip hop now at this period is having a large influence on sports, right? This is
Right.
where now sports, basketball, football, and baseball. Now, even the hockey jerseys, there was a lot of cats rocking hockey jerseys back then. It was a fashion thing.
Right.
So really all four major pro sports, hip hop was influencing in a pretty heavy way now. You know what I
No
mean?
doubt.
You had cats represented because they looked at the team. They may not have been sports fans, but cats was trying to represent their city,
Their city.
their
Yep.
state. You know, I mean,
Right.
or some cats was just wearing it because it matched with their sneakers and their
Yeah.
gear. So now
Yes.
the sport thing, and to this day, I wear a lot. I mean, shit, a lot of my
Like
casual
expression.
wear. Oh yeah, man, I got my Giant stuff, Yankee stuff, whatever. My wife's always on my ass about it. She's like, don't you got anything that don't say fucking New York or sports? She always fucking ragging me about that.
It's
shit.
funny. I
Put
got
on a goddamn shirt. They ain't got no goddamn sports shit on.
That's
You know,
funny.
it's
I got a Yankees tattoo on my arm. I be laughing because I see yours.
Oh yeah. I got the yeah.
I got the same one and shit.
Yeah. But cats was wearing it to represent their city, their state. It started to get infused in the culture. So the baggy and saggy thing's big. Probably started to tail off a little bit as we get into the late 90s. We see it tailing off. It's not as baggy. It's still baggy going into the 2000s, but there was this influx. Now, I don't know, it just out of nowhere, football jerseys. Everybody was wearing fucking football jerseys. Taj is rocking
I
right now.
remember.
But it was Tim's, jeans, baggy jeans, and football jerseys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was like, that was real big in the early 2000s. And to give the brief summary, and I was into that. I ain't gonna lie. I owned a handful of football jerseys.
Yeah.
I was up in that style. I'm not gonna front. The boots, the baggy
Mhm.
jeans.
Mhm.
I was into that for a few years, and then, where we at
Yeah,
now?
that's my era right there.
Now it's just, I don't want to dwell on it too much because I want to
It's
keep
like a
this still brief.
multiverse of madness. Hip hop. It's like
Look, I don't want nobody to take this the wrong fucking way, but I gotta say it for what it is. Everybody's entitled to their own opinion. You don't have to agree with me. Wearing a dress, cross-dressing, this metrosexual shit, and look, I'm sorry, it's just not what hip-hop culture is. I don't want nobody to take that shit the wrong way. I'm not discriminating because people hear shit like, oh, you're being discriminatory. No, I don't hate anybody for their sexual preference.
Right.
But I have my own personal opinion on things. And
Right.
the problem is today they'll cancel you quick. You can't have an opinion. Having an opinion doesn't necessarily mean you're being hateful. Now, if you're interpreting as that, I'm sorry. Right? Just like if somebody can have their opinion that's adverse to what I said, I'm not offended by it. That's cool because you're entitled to it. But I'm saying if we're talking about hip hop culture, back then that was grounds for a beatdown. If you came out like some of these cats,
With a dress.
you would get a beatdown, bro.
Oh,
Right.
hell yeah.
Right.
Hell
I'm
yeah.
just gonna
There's
keep it
order.
100 for you. You
Just
could
keeping it
order.
just keeping it real. Yeah.
I'm seeing cats on the internet, and I can't keep up with them because I don't know. I don't even know half of them. All I know is put Lil in front of your name. Lil Bougie, Little Boo Boo, Little Baby, Little Gambino, Little this, Little that. Cats carrying pocketbooks, wearing women's clothing, dresses. Like this is accepted now, right? Yeah, you can sit here and say all that. Oh, you know, the world is changing, isn't it? Oh, you're being it. No, I'm not. I'm entitled to my perspective. That's all I'm saying.
Right.
I'm just saying, to me, that has no place in hip hop culture. I'm sorry. It doesn't. It's changing. Yes, I get that, but it ain't changing for the better. So the dress now, the shit they doing now,
the money grab, the marketing it's a lot of hands been in the pot for a lot of time.
You're right.
Yep, this is the product of it now. Yep.
Yeah, well, there's an agenda, obviously. The powers that be have an agenda. And that one video I saw, my God, with somebody brought it to my attention a few months back. I think is it Lil Nas and that white dude Jack Harlow? Is that his name?
Yeah, I know.
Jack
I think
something.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Lil Nas
X.
Yeah, I think Lil Nas X. He's the one that I think did the one with the Billy Ray Cyrus country song, right? That's
right.
it.
Yeah.
Right.
Correct.
It was him, and it's that white guy. He's a rapper, I think. Jack Harlow. Maybe I'm saying his name wrong.
Correct.
I don't know if I could be saying it wrong.
No, you got it.
And these motherfuckers did a video in promoting jail life. No, you got to see it. I'm going to leave it at that. It's what I'm saying is what people do in the privacy of their own bedroom. I don't judge anybody for their sexuality, straight, gay, bisexual. That's your business. This is when I say shit like this, people get it confused because they think it's hate. It's not hate. We're talking about, in this perspective, this was not what hip hop culture is. You can say, well, that's what it is now because people are changing and evolving. Yes, to you, and you're entitled to that. To me, no. I'm sorry. And there's nothing you're going to be able to say to change my perspective on that.
Listen. Nobody stopped listening to Grandmaster Flash and Melly Mel because Cowboy wore a pink Cowboys hat, you know what I mean? Or, you know what I mean? A pink shirt or whatever. There's different levels to this shit. You know what I'm saying?
And that's true. When you go back, some of that, that's why I said some of that I don't think it resonated at the time with a lot. And that's why when you mentioned DMC, I think this is where you saw the shift and how it went to the next level, because I think a lot of people, like you say, were feeling the music. But I'm gonna be honest with you, how many cats you grew up at that time was talking about, I'm gonna go get a pink cowboy hat? Nobody was. That's what I'm saying.
Nobody.
We're not gonna front. We might have liked the music, but we might have saw these cats and we was like, I don't know about all that.
Right. But it was about the music. It was about the music.
But even Planet Rock, that was one of the most classic breakdance songs, shit you heard in the roller skating rinks and the club. But I'm not gonna lie, when I saw Africa Bambaataa, and I was like, nothing of that shit resonated with me. Like, I wasn't trying to go buy furs and fucking the space alien glasses and all that.
Listen, just like you said, bro, Beat Street. What resonated for me with Beat Street was not seeing, the Soul Sonic Force on stage and foxtails and furs and spikes and shit like that. That didn't even register. I mean, the music, that's what I locked in on. But what I guess subconsciously what was the Lee suits and the Kangos and the Gazelles and like I said this before. One of my favorite scenes was the subway battle. You know what I mean? Like sheepskins and the bomber jackets, and you know what I mean? Like that's what resonated with me. And I think that's what people pay attention to.
Me too. Because that's you saw yourself and cats you grew up with in that movie. Like, I remember watching them movies and you were attributing certain friend, that remind me of my boy this, or that remind me of that. That's what I'm saying. I think that's when things shifted and it became real authentic to us because we were able to connect with it. Like, again, I'm not going to lie. You bring up a good point. When I saw Cowboy and Melly Mel and all them, I just wasn't that didn't resonate with me. I was like, yeah, the music's cool. It's
Right.
different.
Right.
You know, but I'm like, nah, I don't think I knew anybody was like, let me go get a pink cowboy hat and any of that. No, nobody was doing that shit.
Right.
But when you saw when you saw Beat Street and you saw Run DMC, yeah, cats was running out left and right trying to emulate that because that spoke to them. Why? Because like you said earlier, you know, this was just some real around the way neighborhood street shit. Like, yeah, this is me. This is my boy. This is, yeah, I can
Right.
connect with that.
Right.
So take that up to today, looking at a dude wearing makeup, wearing a dress, holding a pocketbook, claiming he's hip hop. Now you see why you ain't gonna change my mind. I'm
gentrification. Shit got gentrified.
Come on, man. Back then, you would get a beat down. You could, man.
Facts.
You couldn't even come. You couldn't even walk by the corner store. You get a beat down. You understand what I'm saying? Look, come on, man.
No doubt. No doubt.
If somebody can't see that and recognize that and not acknowledge that and not get caught up in their emotions, come on, man, you're foolish. Okay?
Right.
Completely foolish. One thing I want to talk about real quick before I forget it, shifting a little bit. And we have to because it's all over the internet. What you guys think of that? What you guys think of that Melly Mel Eminem?
Melly Mel Eminem.
The Melly Mel and Eminem battle diss.
Yo,
Listen,
I didn't listen to it. It was, for me, I thought it was funny that Melly Mel is like really still active. I loved it. Like, I loved that he was still active out
listen.
here. Like, that was hilarious.
Listen,
I ain't listen to it though.
If you haven't heard it, if I could play it without getting caught. But listen, respect to Melly Mel. Always be acknowledged as being one of the pioneers, laying the grassroots. That'll never be taken away from him. But listen, man, somebody should have told this dude.
He dropped some trash.
Man, listen. You would have thought it was 1983. The man's flow sound the same, didn't even change. The beat is straight.
I was waiting for AB. I was waiting for
Oh, it's there. He ends the song like that. Melly Mel, the greatest. And I'm like, no, he ain't coming with the
He was serious too. He was dead serious.
Yo, listen, dude. He didn't even change his flow. The beat is so trash. How somebody didn't tell? I can't believe the dude that put that shit together for him. The rhymes are corny. The man using metaphors like you the piss in the elevator a rap. How did they let Pee Wee Herman into the Hall of Fame? What do you say? Oh, you look like a roach crawling out your book bag. Like just some shit we would say like in the 80s if we was, you know, your boy was hitting the desk in school, giving you a beat, and you was like, you know. I was just like, no, this dude didn't come with the 80s flow.
I gotta hear this now.
You got to, it's all over the internet, man. Now look, and again, I don't say this from hate. I'm a very selective Eminem fan. I'm not a huge. I like old Eminem.
That Marshall Mathers LP, that was different.
And to me, it's about skills. White rappers. I mean, I give credit to Third Base, Surge. I was a Beastie Boys head. These were dudes that, regardless of their race, they were white, but they had their own style. I know there's a difference of opinion on M. Me, you can't deny. You can't.
You can't. How can you front on M skills? You can't front on M skills. You can't. There's no way you can.
See,
I have this debate. I have this debate with people all the time. Like they just hate. I really feel like people hate on him because he's white, and it's like, bro, like the boy, he's dope. Like you can't deny that. Matter of fact, there's I want to say it's a YouTube video of him before he got a deal.
Yeah,
when he was trying to get put on in clubs in Detroit. Rakim says 7 MCs put him in the line. Literally, this nigga like tearing down MCs like one after another on stage, one after another, with no deal.
Yeah, no. Well, see, that's why I'm saying that to say, Eminem is a battle rapper. Why in the world would Melly Mel, out of everybody, do really? This is the dude you want to pick a beef with. All right, he has his opinion.
That shit
right?
funny.
He's,
I ain't
you know,
gonna
he's
lie.
on the same thing, the white entitlement thing. He believes, all right, you can have that opinion, that's fine, but dude, why you play it? You're killing your legacy. I mean, if I thought
I
he was going
agree.
to come out with some
Facts.
like, all right, when I heard it, I remember a couple of weeks ago when it first popped up, I saw a thing pop up in my feed. It said Melly Mel responds to Eminem diss. I said, oh shit, I gotta check this out. This gonna be some fire. Man, I turned that shit on. I wonder, but that shouldn't be copywritten. I wonder if I could play that shit, man. Let me not fuck with
It can't be
That shit-
copyrighted, bro.
it. Yo, let me play that shit because everybody's playing. Let me pull that shit up, man.
That
This
shit
shit,
crazy.
this shit is pure fucking garbage.
I'm laughing.
It's a minute and 12 seconds too at that. You think if you make something for a minute and 12 seconds, that shit got to be fire, man. That shit got to be fire.
He dropped pure.
Pure trash. A minute 12 of pure garbage. All right, here it is.
I ain't think. I thought he was gonna transcend with the times, but
Hold on.
he's
Let me
stuck
pull
in
this shit. Let me pull this fucking garbage out. Just to give us a good
time
laugh.
machine.
Yeah, it's bad, man. When I tell you it's bad, it's fucking bad, bro.
That's funny because
Oh.
it's just like the age gap in hip hop.
All right, here we go. Let me skip it.
It's the one. No apologies. This ain't a disclaimer. I'm the king of legends, first Hall of Famer. Making diss tracks, I know you with that. Now everybody get ready for the kickback. Why you hurt? Why you mad? Now you look bad. Like a roach just crawled out of your book bag. Get a pack clash from black class. Go to bed with no supper, cause you gotta suffer the backlash. The top 5 is cap. You the piss that's on the floor in the elevator of rap. Why you ducking on the game when you shit on my name? Why they put Pee Wee Herman in the Hall of Fame? I would give you a pound, but I break your hand. I got a lawyer so whack, he will take your land. Yo, check your man, come and look at your friend, cause I think that Eminem is popping pills again. We call him Bill Clinton or either Bill Gates or Bill that homie take to make him hate the great. Think you are, but you ain't. Still, you made a mistake. Hit a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
So
I'ma
man
give
counted
fans
to
one
8.
more chance to go online and re-energize that bromance. After that, say your last goodbye. Cut before I put Matthew's lights out, I'm turning up the fucking Wi-Fi. Another little kid, don't hate the greats. More white chalk, more yellow tape. Who that? Who that? Belly Bell.
That shit is, can I say
Whoa.
trash to the fullest? Oh, hold on, I don't want to hear that shit again.
Now, that's why I didn't hear the hurrah at the end, because I didn't listen that far.
The man, who the fuck counts to 8 in their raps anymore? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yo, that shit. I was like, first I thought it was a joke when I first heard it. I said, nah, this got to be some type of parody or some joke. And then I kept going through the internet, and no, it was real because it was popping up everywhere. I'm like, holy shit. First of all, what's with the gunshot every 5 seconds in the track?
That shit
Like, that shit sound like if I closed my eyes and you told me I went through a time warp, I thought I was back in 82, 83, man. That shit was trash.
he ain't changed nothing. Like he
Nothing,
stayed there,
bro. The man said he tried to diss M about when M came out about that he had a addiction to prescription meds.
Right.
The man called him what was it, Pill Clinton and some other shit.
Yeah.
He said,
Eminem and
Bill Clinton and I don't know some other shit. I'm like, dude, this is if you're gonna go a minute and change, dude, you gotta come hard, man. From first bar to the last. You can't like I'm hearing this shit come in, and I'm like, all right, I'm waiting for the fire.
Like,
First
like
of all,
catch. Nah, he missed it.
It's garbage, man. The beat's trash, rhyme flow, trash, metaphors, trash. Look like a roach that crawled out your book
bag, yeah.
You to piss on the floor in the elevator a rap. Really, dude?
What the fuck? That is
crazy. He still think it's 1979, bro.
Yeah.
Listen, dude, let it go.
The
Look,
evolution
like I said,
of rap is crazy thinking about that. Like, Jesus Christ.
Like I said, man, shout out to Melly Mel. Always, nobody can take it from you, bro. You always be one of the grassroots pioneers of the music. Period.
And he was and he was a goat at one time. You know what I mean?
Oh man,
Yeah, and of a generation.
I wonder how I keep from
no
going
more.
up. Dude, that was your shit.
That's crazy.
Stay there, bro. Keep that legacy.
Yeah.
Now, with that said, right? That's as sad to me, and it was nostalgic, but that was as sad as like for me when I saw Curtis Blow perform at the Yankee Stadium thing. It was like it was like damn, like he's so way past his time. Like he looked like he was out of breath. You know what I mean? And
he got heavy too. He got big.
yeah, but that's life. You know what I'm saying? Like, but Mel, he gotta accept it. You know what I mean? Sit down somewhere.
Yeah.
A dude I never cared for, and I think it's because it was in that transition phase. I was never a Kool Moe Dee fan. I hated his style. There was it. I think now there's some cats you can't say shit about Kool Moe Dee. They think he's one of the greatest MCs of all time. I thought L chopped his ass up personally.
He did.
But my thing was, I think at that period, Kool Moe Dee got hot right when Kool Moe Dee style was going out. And that's just
right. Yeah.
He was hanging on to the early 80s style. Remember, he was big 85 around that time. But what was happening was that that was starting to go out.
Right.
And further proof of that is if you look how it all panned out, he didn't last because he was one of them dudes I was talking about earlier that couldn't transition his flow to where hip hop was going at that time. Some of them cats, they couldn't get away from that, and all that shit. They couldn't get away from it.
Right.
Fucking L ran over him with a freight train, dude. Like Jack the Ripper. It was like comparing fucking, water to fucking vodka. Like you can't, it don't, like there's no comparison.
Jack the Ripper I think that was the nail in his coffin.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, see, here's the thing with L. Now, though, L was very promotable, a light-skinned dude, sex symbol. He had the look. So they made him mainstream, but don't fall asleep on L when he became commercial later in his career. L was a battle rapper. He was doing his things out in the park.
Right.
And you heard, we've all heard some of even the battles with Cannabis. Now the Cannabis thing, I'm on the fence with that one. I think Cannabis took him a few times. I'm gonna be honest with you. I think what did Cannabis in, and we talked about this on a previous show. The problem was at that time, L was at the pinnacle of his game. You had to pick your battles. You could look through the course of the history of hip hop. There was some artists that it was the wrong thing to do at the wrong time. I even look at
your career
in the 80s. You take there was a female rapper named Antoinette.
Yeah.
She was nasty. Antoinette was nasty. There's a song you can go Google called Attitude and listen to her flow on it. She was hard and she was fine as hell. The voice don't match her, how she looked. She was fine as hell.
Yeah.
She was nasty, she could flow, but she made the mistake. Somebody put in her ear at that time when there wasn't many female rappers, but Salt and Pepper, Jazzy, what's her name? God damn, she was with Howie Lovebug in them. Jazzy Joyce,
Sweet Tea,
and Jazzy Joyce. There you go. Salt and Pepper, but she made the mistake of trying to diss MC Light. That was not smart. It did her career in. And I think what happened with Cannabis, got to give him his props. Cannabis had skills. And if you go listen, you could pull it up. It's on YouTube. You could pull it up on platforms. Now, there was some, I think, I'm going to be honest with this. We lost Taj. I don't know what happened. He'll probably come back in. There were some, like when you listen to the whole back and forth, and it was a pretty lengthy exchange. They went, let me bring it back in. Hold on. Yeah, we got you back, bro.
My phone's done. I put it in the charger. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was saying when you look at that whole and that Cannabis LL battle was pretty lengthy. The exchange was pretty lengthy back and forth.
I remember
L had
that.
some nice verses on there, but I'm gonna be honest with you. If you told me overall, and I'm not saying because I'm saying this, that L didn't spit some fire in it, but I think Cannabis took him, man. I'm
Yeah,
just gonna be honest with you.
yeah. He definitely was. He was hitting hard. You know.
He was, man.
Mhm.
He hands down. Now I think what happened was, see, when you go up against Cannabis, especially at that time, and I think that was 97, if I'm not mistaken. It was 97, 98. And I think what happened
closer to the 2000s, yeah.
was it a little later? Yeah, it was late 90s, early 2000s.
Yeah.
And I think the problem was he couldn't defeat L's popularity. And that's a hard thing. When you go up against an artist,
a giant like LL.
And Cannabis was more, he was kind of more underground, didn't have that, all that fame, and he didn't have all that popularity. But if we're talking just on skills alone, and we're not factoring in popularity and all that shit, you got to get that shit to Cannabis. I'm sorry, just like
lyrically, yes, lyrically, I agree with you for sure.
Yeah. And I think Nas took out Jay-Z. I don't give a fuck what anybody say. That
Ether was crazy.
Shit. Come on.
Yeah, Ether was ridiculous.
Crazy.
Yeah, he took him out. But that's part of this whole diss thing has always been part of the culture, which takes us, which we can't not talk about this. We have to go into if we're talking about the history, 50 years of hip hop, it's a celebration, but there are some parts of it, obviously, that are tragic, right? We've lost a lot of MCs and people along the way. Obviously, the East Coast, West Coast shit, which I think the media hyped up, personally, in my opinion.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. They didn't help the situation. I think, at that time, magazines and papers and all that was still, that was a big draw. People were still buying magazines back then.
Right.
We didn't have all the digital shit, newspapers and all that shit.
But the influence is that propaganda, it's like that. It's pushing that shit heavy.
And it still baffles me how two dudes can get gunned down in broad daylight or one at nighttime after a boxing match with thousands of people around, and nobody to this day has been held accountable. To me, this is how we know that shit. There's a setup there.
Come on, man. Clear daylight. Like, come on now. It's too obvious.
It's just, I just find it hard to believe. But again, when money is involved and this shit get in the wrong hands, tragically, and I know everybody just talks about, Big and Tupac. We can't forget. We did shows on this. Can't forget artists like Big L. We've lost a lot of artists to stupidity, gunfire, and just over dumb shit, stupid beats. Jealous. Yes, unfortunately it's been part of the culture, but I think it's egos, and some of these dudes feel because they portray this hardcore image, they got to live up to it. And when you think about it, it's like it really, some of it from when you get the information of what some of these beefs were over, it's like, fucking really?
Little shit. Women. Like all type of
just dumb shit. So we go ahead, Taj. You were gonna say something?
It is a lot of dumb shit. But I was gonna say that if you ever get a chance to check out, like, Snoop has a few interviews online talking about Pac and and he's real candid and real honest about it. You know what I'm saying? Like Pac's personality and what he thought about the situation with Suge and all of that stuff. And, to sum it up, he was just like, he was a dude that was had a lot of sides to him, kind of conflicting sides. And at the same time, he said, what he thinks put the nail in the coffin. And then, there's all the conspiracy theories and all the other stuff out there. But what he said was, what he thinks put the nail in the coffin was, he chose a side, you know, and he's like, when you choose a side, you take on beef that's really not yours. You know what I'm saying? And you know, him being a wild dude, you know what I mean, it all culminated in unfortunately what it did.
Yeah. So, you know, there's those tragic things that have scarred the culture, but unfortunately we can't acknowledge it. We have to. It's part of the history, not a good history, but it's always going to be ingrained, you know, as part of
too.
yeah.
No other music genre, you know, produces this much death, you know,
You're
than
right.
hip hop.
You don't see heavy metal rock bands weren't beefing with each other, claiming sets, and I mean, but see, that also is where, you know, we're talking about, that's where spirituality now factors in, indoctrination. Now we have to use this is where knowledge plays a large part. And when when we go into the culture and we look at, thank, you know, goodness for groups like Public Enemy, I mean, was probably the most impactful group in hip hop in my entire life. I mean, changed my whole fucking life, literally. That is the most impactful group or impactful hip hop music outside of Rakim. They're right there. I mean, but as a group as a whole, there's nobody, in my opinion. I mean, and then from them growing up, literally minutes from where I live, like when we were kids, when Long Island rappers were coming to the surface, that was a big thing for us. It was huge because, you know, we had cats that from my way, EPMD, De La Soul, K Solo, Biz Markie. Even though Biz Markie was born in Brooklyn, but he moved out to Long Island, and that's how he put Kane on, and Kane would come out there. Method Man's actually from Long Island, but he moved to, you know, when we saw all these cats, Granddaddy IU, who passed away not too long ago, you know, when we saw all these Long Island cats getting put on, we were like, oh shit. I mean, I literally used to see Flavor Flav as a kid. We have these spots all over New York and Long Island, Nassau, Suffolk County, places called dairy barns. And they like little drive-up convenience stores. You drive up or you walk up, and then, you know, it's just like a convenience store. I remember back then in the early 91, Flav used to drive a purple Corvette because he was always a wild, eccentric dude. And I remember he would pull up to the dairy barn and just buy shit for dudes. Like, what you want, man? Go ahead, man. Go. You didn't even have to know him. That's the type of dude he was. And I always said, Flav was never really, he was part of the group. He was the hype man, but he wasn't really into all that NOI stuff. He never was.
Right.
You know, he openly talks about that. But I remember seeing him, Terminator X, you know, all these cats. I mean, they're from Roosevelt, Freeport. I mean, that's like minutes from where I went to school. And we saw all, I mean, I used to see Biz Markie in the White Castle. We used to all go in the White Castle on the weekends, and we'd have what they call it today, I forgot what there's a term for it. Back then we used to call it snap contest, where we would just snap on each other. You snap on, you know, your mom.
We used to call it bussing.
Say it again.
We used to call it bussing on each other.
Bussing on. We used to call it snap. Yo, such and such. Yo, we at the White House. We having a snap contest. We used to call it snapping on each other. But I literally, when they, and rest in peace to Biz Markie. I mean, I used to love Biz Markie. That first album, classic. But I mean, Biz Markie really was that character. I mean, he was known in Long Island for being one of the best snappers. I mean, peeing in your pants. Like, nobody could fuck with him when it came to snapping. You know, but when you saw all these cats coming up right around you in the areas that you grew up, you were like, oh shit. You know, you were like, that was some big shit back then. But Public Enemy, I mean, I wore that shit with a badge of honor. I mean, I had every Public Enemy t-shirt that came out. I mentioned on a previous show, I did the shower clock. Yeah, man, I went that far. I did the fucking shower clock. The big clock that Flavor wears, that's a shower.
Yeah.
And I remember going to the store, but I was right. I mean, that's how PE'd out I was. I was a fanatic, man.
Funny, I met Flavor Flav. I'm sorry, I met when I was younger with my mom and my sister. My mom ran up to him. My mom was like, Flav. Yeah, like, that was like my first real introduction to him in real life, ironically. So I met him in real life. That was pretty cool.
Yo, Tyler, you know your camera's off, right?
Yeah. I'm charging my phone. It'll be back on in a minute too. Nah, it was Flav, man. I mean, I never met Flav. I met Chuck. I never met Flav. Chuck was cool as hell, man. Cool as hell. I met him on several occasions, but
Damn.
Flav talking about how real he was. Like I remember when Public Enemy used to be on tour and they come through Philly, they used to talk about how Flav would disappear and he'd be hanging out in the streets in the hood, you know what I'm saying? And he show up right when, you know, when they're about to go on stage or whatever, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I mean, yeah,
Personable.
he was that character. I mean, obviously we know he had some issues, but he was that dude. What you saw, he was just energetic like that. He just was a wild dude, man. It's just how he lived. But he treated man. He'd be out on strangers, man, out on the street, had love for everybody. It was genuine.
Yeah.
He loved to be around people, man. He just was type of cat that he was, man. But when you seen all these cats coming up, man, you were like, man. I mean, we were just in awe. But what did it for me, because if you look on the back cover of Rakim's first album, there's some photos on the back. That's taken in Uniondale, New York, right across the street from the Nassau Coliseum. There's this big office building. It's that one building where they're all sitting on the car. That's like 10 minutes from where I lived, right? And you see these things on albums, and you was, as a youngster, you was like, oh shit, blah, blah, blah. I'm over there all the time. So it's like, I'm saying that to say, it's like you felt like you were a part of it. Like you felt like you was a part of it. Now, I told y'all, if y'all look close, you got to catch it. If you scan, the brother's gonna work it out on the beach. I'm in that video on the beach, one of the extras. I'm in that whole, when you see them all walking on the beach. We stayed out there all fucking day just to get in that video. Because that's filmed on Long Beach in Long Island, Long Beach, New York. You know, when you were talking about what you were saying in the beginning of the show, Taja, how we did it for the love of it, because it was like part of our life. It was part, like we didn't really look at it. And it's funny you said it, and as I think about it now, you're right. Like we didn't really look at it like we were trying to become famous and rich like that. But like we did want to be a part of it, is the best way I can say it. Right? It's like we felt like we needed to be a part of it, because just being a part of it felt like you was, you know, part of something big and special back then, right? Because it was the, you know, it was just, I can't put it into words, but
Absolutely.
Yeah, and listen, so that's what I'm saying. Like, you know, it started out that way. You know what I'm saying? It was about being a part. It was like this culture was us. It was represented us. That our parents didn't relate to it. Nobody related to it but us. You know what I'm saying? And it wasn't until later, like you speaking on be about, you know, seeing, you know, the local artists, like same thing, like Fresh Prince, he Jazzy Jeff, Fresh Prince, they were in the hood. Like Fresh Prince would battle people. Like he actually was from West Philly, where I grew up at is called West Oak Lane. It's like it's not like you got to travel to get to West Philly. He's walking through our hood. He shows up on our block. You know what I mean? Freestyling. You know what I'm saying? This was before he really got big, but that kind of stuff would inspire later on your aspiration to, oh, if he can do it, I rhyme, you know what I mean? Like maybe I could get put on, you know what I'm saying?
Right. And one thing, my fondest memory of Jazz, now old Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince before he got Cornball. First two albums, after that I was done with them, but Girls of the World Ain't Nothing But Trouble. But I remember on the Raising Hell tour, and Jazzy too, check out the stuff he did recently with J Period. Man, he To Tell a Story, if you haven't heard, that came out not too long ago. He just did some work with J Period that's off the chain, man. Check that shit out. And Jazzy's still doing stuff. He's live streaming on Instagram. He's still out there performing.
I see him trending often. I always see him trending.
No, he is. He's on the internet doing shit. He's on
Instagram. He's still active, man. He's still out there.
Somebody got really bad background noise. I don't know who keeps moving. It's really bad interference. I don't know if it's a mic. Maybe it was you, Taja. I don't know. It's gone now, but I don't know. Just be careful of somebody moving.
Make sure it's not me. Yeah.
But I remember on the Raising Hell tour, Run DMC. I'll never forget it. Okay, Nassau Coliseum. was the only time I ever saw DJ Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince live. No, I'm lying. I saw them in Miami. I saw them twice. But that was my first time seeing them. And I mean, we all know Jazzy Jeff is a really good DJ. I mean, hands down, got skills. The show he put on that night, that was at that time, he was doing shit, tricks on the turntables, shit in the shows. At that time, in the mid 80s, nobody was doing that shit. Nobody was doing that shit. And I remember the shit he did that night. And if you remember the old clips, they had this Puerto Rican chick that danced with him. It was a girl and a guy that were their dancers. And I remember it was like a light-skinned Puerto Rican chick, and it was a dude, and they had matching outfits on. And even the Fresh Prince, when he was the real Fresh Prince before he got Hollywood and corny, man, they put on an amazing fucking show back in the day, man. I mean,
hey, so just to give you a little perspective, and I'm not, I would never, like, Jeff is like, you know, one of the GOATs as far as DJing is concerned. If you remember, B, I don't know if you do, but they used to have a World Supremacy contest.
Oh yeah,
back
I
in the
remember
day.
it. Oh,
And Philly used to win back to back to back. And the reason why is because we had these DJs that just did incredible shit. You know what I mean? So when you saw Jazzy Jeff, that was like his you know, the shit that he built up from battling other DJs, you know, Cash Money. I mean, I could go through a list of people you probably never heard, but you know, like these dudes, like that's what they did. Like those that wax and those tables were like a part of them. You know what I'm saying?
That's why I said the art of DJing it's a lost art. I mean, well, you mentioned what about Jack the Rapper convention? Remember that?
Yeah, Jack the Rapper. Yep.
That was where you'd see some shit go down, and that used to be a big convention every year. I went to that, you know, several times. That's where you go to shop your demo and go to watch performances, and you would see some shit there back in the day. But let's talk about, since we're there, let's get on it. Now, again, I've always said this, shout out. I want to talk about regions. I want to talk about the DJ, but shout out. I honestly say this, and I've told you this, even, you know, this goes back, but I've said this from day one, going back in the 80s. I never slept. I always was checking. At that time, there wasn't tons, but there was, I mean, Philadelphia put out some artists and some groups that I was hands down cranking, like Hilltop Hustlers. I'm a huge Steady B fan. Cool C, the Hilltop Hustlers. Obviously 3 times Dope. But I told you, my all-time favorite group out of Philly is Tough Crew. I remember when they first came out, they was on Warlock Records, then they switched. I was literally bringing that shit into my neighborhood. And it was on a label in New York at the time.
Right.
Now, they didn't become popular till a little bit later as word spread. But I'm telling you, when I tell you, in my neighborhood, I was cranking Tough Crew. I put so many cats on the Tough Crew at that time in New York. I played the hell out of that Danger Zone album. I played that shit till it got fucking warped. That's how much I was cranking that shit. Yeah.
I don't know if I said this before. I don't know if I mentioned this before in a previous show, but you talking about Hilltop Hustlers. Lawrence and Dana Goodman were guys that I think they had a deli or something like that, but they had a lot of money, and they started something called Pop Art Records.
Okay. Pop
Art and Dana and Lawrence Goodman are directly responsible for Marley Marl and that whole thing out of Queensbridge. Shantae's deal came from them signing her at Pop Art in Philly because they could not get her a deal in New York as a female battle rapper. Nobody wanted to touch her. You know what I'm saying? And then later on, Tyrone, I forget his last name now, the president of Coachella, the CEO of Coachella, he was her manager at the time. He got the deal for her out of Pop Art, and then they actually financed the Bridge Records, and that's how you got the whole. That's how you got to see MC Shan and Big Daddy Kane and Biz Markie and all of them because of a Philadelphia
Well, you
connection.
remember in the battle raps and the disses with the Juice Crew and all that, they used to clown her about being from Philly. Remember they used to, and we know she's from Queensbridge, right? We know she's Queensbridge.
Right.
But they used to use that angle because what you just said, she got signed in Philly to Pop Art. They used to always clown her about that. Oh, you from Philly? You got put on. Wait, she was never from Philly, but
no, she was never from Philly. No,
but she got put on in Philly, 100%.
Yeah.
100%. You know, she got put on in Philly. But yeah, this is shit. But shout out to Philly. Philly got a rich history.
Hip-hop.
They got some groundbreaking artists. And then even when you get later, like I was a huge Bahamadia fan. Bahamadia was nice.
no doubt.
Man,
No doubt.
Bahamadia, I wish she would have stayed around longer. You know, and then obviously you got the Roots. Never was a big Schoolie D fan. I don't know, the style just never resonated with me. Yeah, they was cranking that shit when it first came out.
That beat is infamous.
Schoolie D was a guy down here when he was out, man.
Oh, I know. Schoolie was
imagine.
God because he was at that time. He was the most. I mean, he was the main thing out of Philly.
Yeah, and you're talking about. I mean, if you want to talk about like gangster rap, that's where it came from.
Schoolie D.
Oh yeah.
He was the originator of that shit.
Yeah, I mean, but Philly has put out some great music, great artists. So when we talk about the regional thing, but I want to talk about the DJ thing. I can't. And this is one thing with hip hop that bothers the fuck out of me now. You just see these corny motherfuckers up there with 2 fucking laptops and they got these electronic turntables and they just hitting buttons and look, you go look at a lot of these real DJs when they just had 2 SP12s, a mixer, and they just using straight vinyl. That's it. You just see them flipping records, changing records, catching loops. That's the real art of DJing.
Right.
Having 2 fucking laptops and a mixer and hitting some buttons and turning a little electric turntable thing to make it sound like you mixing and scratch. That's not DJing, people. I'm sorry. It's not DJing. DJing to me, I was just as captivated with the DJing as I was almost the MCing. I mean, when I would go to shows, but I would look forward to seeing, you know, outside of Jazzy Jeff, you'd look forward to seeing whether Terminator X, Mr. C. You would look forward to seeing these DJs when you went and watched shows because these DJs they were even obviously Jam Master Jay was nasty. I'll be honest with you, Eric B really wasn't that good of a DJ. I got to be honest. He was real basic, but Rakim was so nasty. Now Eric B was a good producer. His production skills. But if you really go listen, I mean, he got a little bit better on the Don't Sweat the Technique album. That's when I thought his skills finally kind of got to where. But if you listen to the first 2 albums, he really wasn't doing nothing. I mean,
here's the thing, B. Eric B wasn't the producer. Eric B brought Rakim to Marley Marl.
Right.
Marley Marl produced a majority of that stuff, and Rakim himself. You know what I mean?
That's true.
The early shit. The early shit that we the classic early shit that we love, it was Marley Marl.
Well, that's where some of the beefs come in later and then the money and all. Well, we won't get into that.
Right.
But yeah, no, true indeed. But as far as DJ skills, he wasn't that good, man. I gotta be honest. Very basic, you know. But when you go down those lines, I mean, you look at some of these DJs like Mr. C was nasty. EPMD, their DJ. I mean, he blow your mind. DJ Scratch, he blow your mind if you watched him live. I used to love like in the block parties and the house parties and stuff, like going to the front so you can actually see what the DJ's doing. Like, because it's one thing to hear, it's another thing to actually see him catching records and all the, you know, the tricks and all that stuff was crazy. Kid Capri was nasty at that too, man.
Oh, no doubt.
I saw him a few times at the Apollo when he was doing a lot of work out there, not just for the show, but I mean, that's a dude, if you really want to watch skills, the whole art of mixing records to a T, not just tricks on the turntable, but to watch him work, like you said, flipping the records, how quick-witted those dudes were. And this is why I said, going back to older shows, and I used to say years ago in classes, I firmly believe that hip hop was given to the youth as a gift from the gods to speed up their intellect. 100% sold on that.
I agree.
Because the stuff these cats were doing, you didn't have all this technology back then. Right now, it's a little easier. You got, like you say, unlimited tracks. Back then, what did it start out with? A 4-track, then it went to 8.
Yeah.
And what, 24, 48, I think was.
Yeah.
I stopped fucking with me. Maybe Mayo went to 72 when I stopped doing music. 48. If you had somebody had a 48-track studio, they were God back then.
Nah, if you got over 48, you in a major studio.
You in the major leagues. 24 was like the biggest you'd run into some local cat if he had some real good equipment. And then we were using 808s, SP12s, for the beat machines.
909s.
909, yeah. Can't forget the 808, the 909, and the SP1200. And then we were running tracks through the M1 Korg keyboards. Remember the M1 Korgs?
Right.
We were running everything through the Korg, right? And then you take in the sampling, and then you put in the importance of the DJ, because the sampling and the mixing, and then whatever the DJ laid down in addition on top of the track, that was how critical he was, or whoever was the DJ. They was that critical.
And you mentioned Tough Crew, DJ Too Tough. Shout out to him. Ridiculous.
I saw him perform maybe 4 or 5 times, off the fucking chain. Anytime he did his solo, and see, that was the thing when you went to a show back then, the DJ always had a solo part in the act. Like if it was a group that had a set DJ, like Jazzy Jeff, etc., there was always a solo spot allotted to him in the act. You knew it was coming. I told you just a couple of years ago, and it was great. This was right before the pandemic. It was 2018. I posted some live clips of it, I think, on the YouTube. I don't know. I might have took them down. Might have been copyright shit. They had the Godfathers of Hip Hop tour, and Rakim was there. Das Effects was there, and when I tell you that Das Effects DJ took that shit, I mean, he did some shit, fucked me up. Like, I thought I was back in the 90s. I mean, he did some Jack the Rapper convention shit. He did tricks. The way he was mixing it down. Dougie Fresh was on that bill. And when I tell you, Dougie Fresh truly is the world's greatest entertainer, he plays to his strength.
He does.
The first 15, 20, and Dougie did about a 30, 45-minute set. The first 15, 20 minutes of Dougie's set, you know what it was? It was all hyping the crowd up. He was taking all old R&B classics and just doing a whole crowd participation routine. He just came out there for about 10, 15 minutes, opened the show up, and he was taking like the Jackson 5, all these different songs. He would just get the crowd to participate, sing like the hook or the verse from the song, and then just play the instrumental. And he would just dance around, have everybody. Look, I was at that shit like a little kid. I was dancing around like a crackhead. He had me dancing around like, I was like, oh shit. Like, you couldn't help but not, like, it was, I mean, he is an entertainer. See, the beauty about the artists back then, we talk about this a lot over the years on the show. The last couple of years we've been doing this, about 2 years, whatever, year and a half, 2 years. We always talk about how every artist was unique, had their own style. Not like today. Everybody on the radio sound like Drake or some fucking mumble rapper. Like, I can't tell any of them apart. Everybody's little boo-boo, little baby, little choo-choo, little cha-cha, whatever the fuck. And they all sound the fucking same. I can't tell them apart. They all mumbling or they all doing what I call the sing-along rap. It's not rapping. It's not singing. It's in between. It's sing-along rap.
Yeah.
But these cats back then, you had rappers like Dougie Fresh who were entertainers. Like, I was telling Taja, I was talking to him earlier today, I gave him a call, and I was like, the last 2 days out of nowhere, Slick Rick just popped into my head. I don't know why. And that happens with me sometimes because I'm always going when I'm in the gym and I got my earbuds, I'm like, what am I going to listen to? And when I said that to myself, Slick Rick, so I've been on a Slick Rick kick. And I look at Slick Rick and I was thoroughly, it's funny, as many times as I listened to all his albums, I've listened to his shit a million times. And I'm listening to Behind Bars today in the gym, his third joint, after he got locked up after the incident. This is after the King. I'm sorry, the Ruler. I'm listening to his third. I'm like, damn, Slick's flow is so fucking smooth and fluid. Like it's just, I mean, when you listen to it, and then I'm listening to the storytelling, man. He was a storyteller. Dougie Fresh was a storyteller / entertainer. Biz Markie was the fun kind of party rapper dude, but he still had that street credibility. He wasn't rapping gangster. You wouldn't consider him a hardcore rapper. He was just one of them dudes from around the way. Heavy D was a party rapper, entertainer rapper, Kid and Play. You had that group. You had your political conscious rappers. You had Public Enemy, Positively Black, X-Clan. You had Culture's Tribe Called Quest, Jungle Brothers, right? All these cats had their own unique style, right? Now it's like, what do you got? What do you really got now? It's just everybody sound the fucking same. That's why I can't listen to it. All those trap beats sound the same.
Yeah, facts. Yeah, and it's like that mainstream algorithm, I like to call it. Like, it's an algorithm of bullshit, but like, you know, the tones, the melodies, and, you know, everything's repetitive now. You know, it's like, damn, you seen the same shit over and over.
Look, and sadly enough, they starting AI fucking rappers.
I saw that with Biggie. I saw it. I saw the AI thing they put together with Biggie. It's pathetic, man. I'm sorry. I'm not really
ridiculous. And like you said about the DJs, it's the same thing for producing. It's like a 10-year-old kid can actually put together a beat, you know, using technology. And I mean, it ain't gonna be the same, but it's something, you know what I'm saying? And you put an AI rapper on it, and now these kids don't know the difference, so they'll be happy with it. You know what I'm saying?
No, and the other thing that's becoming toxic is every female MC, they've embraced the culture of just rapping about sex and being a hoe. Like, how many more songs can I hear from a female rapper about how they got the best pussy on the planet and they looking for a dude to lace them up? And it's just like, all right, we get it, but can you rap about anything else? This is why there's no more Bahamadeas, there's no more MC Lights. All that's to the wayside. I mean, I'm not saying there isn't anything out there, but
not mainstream.
Is there a female rapper out there that's not rapping about a fucking punani? Maybe I'm just because I'm not current on the current shit.
No, like No Face said, is no mainstream rappers like that. You'll find them, but they just not they don't have deals. They don't have exposure. You know what I mean?
Which like, makes the industry look even more crazier. You know.
Yeah. It is, because like you look at an artist, for an example, Nicki Minaj. Now, here's the thing with Nicki Minaj. You go pull up some of her underground shit before she was famous.
She got skills.
She has skills. There's some underground shit circulating you could still pull up in her early career in New York. That shit she's putting out on albums, that shit's pure trash. This fucking Barbie doll shit and this and I'm that shit is trash.
It's a gimmick. Like again, I had another debate with somebody, right, who hates Nicki Minaj, and he's trashing, and I'm like, yeah, I get where you're coming from, but trash what she's doing now, like, but you can't trash the fact that she's actually got skills. You know what I mean? Like, she actually can rap. You know what I mean?
And I've heard it.
Same thing with Cardi B.
Oh yeah, Cardi B too, but she's gone the Nicki Minaj route. She's trying to be that whatever that style is. And Megan Thee Stallion's trash too. I'm sorry.
She's garbage.
The thing is, if you take the sexual elements out of their music, ain't nobody listening to that shit.
Nah,
exactly.
People only listening to it. Dudes is only listening to it because of the way they look.
Right.
That's it. Ain't nobody really. If you would have to be a complete fool to say, oh, they got mad skills. Come on, man.
Shout to Eve.
Eve out of Philly. She was another female rapper you can't sleep on. But those that's what I'm saying.
Real skills.
There's no female rappers like Eve, like Bahamadia, like MC Light, like Jazzy Jordan. They're all gone.
Right.
That's what I'm saying. Every female come out, it's the same. What's this other chick? This fucking, I saw her on the 50th anniversary. First time seeing her, I hear her name all the time. That real light-skinned chick, fucking Ginger Spice, whatever the fucking name is.
Ice Spice.
What's her name?
Ice Spice.
Trash. Pure
Yeah.
garbage. Saw her perform on the BET 50th hip hop thing. I'm like, are you serious?
Yeah.
I'm the baddest bitch. Everything. I'm the baddest bitch. My pussy's
Yo,
come on, man. Stop.
but Scarlett, she
Oh no,
got some.
Scarlett. Okay, I forgot about Scarlett.
Yeah.
Scarlett, she's different breed.
She's hard.
She got some. Yeah.
Yeah. I forgot to bring her up. I'm glad you brought up
sister.
Scarlett. She bringing it back.
Yeah.
No doubt.
She hardcore,
sister.
but maintaining her feminine. Yeah,
Exactly.
she nasty. She
Perfect.
nasty. And I hope she blow up and explode because she's actually really, as a female, bringing lyrical skills to the game where nobody else is really. And see, so that's another
That's a
thing.
lost art amongst female rap.
I think. I mean, for me, I always been a big Remy Ma supporter. You know what I mean? Because I think she definitely got skills. She definitely represents.
I mean,
Rod Digger. Yeah, Rod Digger. Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, but again, we're going back to the early 2000s. We're going back almost 20 years ago.
Right.
This is the shit that, I mean, Remy Ma's still putting some stuff out, but I always love Remy. I think Remy Ma's sexy as hell too, man.
No doubt.
Voice, just the whole, everything, man. See, that's what I'm saying. When you got a female MC like that maintains, she got that hip hop vibe, but still maintaining her feminine, man, that shit is off the chain.
Yeah, it's not overdoing. She not overdoing anything.
It doesn't exist no more. It doesn't. Now it's like all these female rappers, if they gotta basically come out on stage half naked. They're basically doing a strip show because that's what they're doing. They're doing a whole show for you while they're rapping. And then every song is the same shit about how they the baddest bitch and this and that. It's like, yo, the one bitch, I'm sorry. Look, I got to call. She looked weird as fuck. And it looked like her eyes are like too far apart. That chick, Glorilla, she's a weird looking chick, man. I'm sorry. And to me, look, all right, I don't see no skill there. I'm sorry, man. It's just, that's what I mean. I don't see anything there that's sticking out to me, man. But hey, to each his own. You're doing your hustle, but I don't know. Her eyes just look too far apart from me. Every time I see her, I'm like, damn, I got to look closer. I'm like, her eyes are too far apart. But yeah.
And we forgot to mention Lauryn Hill. Shout out to Lauryn Hill.
Yeah. Lauryn Hill with the roots. She really, like, I don't think, I think Wyclef Jean, and Pride,
I'm not a Wyclef or a Pride fan at all. Lauryn was the truth.
Yeah, she held the group together.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Now I know everybody talks about the second album, but don't sleep on that first album. That first album's classic.
Oh, no doubt.
Oh yeah, that's
the first album. I know everybody always talks about the second album in '96. That's where they had all their hits, and that's really what put them over the top. But that first album before that, '94, '95, that shit was, Lauryn definitely. You know who another group that they kind of, I think, were influenced by? You remember Diggable Planets, right?
Oh, yeah. Definitely. Ladybug,
nasty.
Ladybug was the truth.
That was another group that was so underrated. I know they did 2, maybe 3 albums. I know it was 2 for sure. It might have been 3. But man, they brought a whole different style to the game. And she came to mind. That group came to mind because we're talking about female MCs. And now, Diggable came slightly before the Fugees, right?
Yeah. They were a few years before the Fugees. Yeah.
I think I've always wanted to find that out. I think there was some influence there.
I think so.
Because if you look at the way Diggable Planets was set up, you had the Puerto Rican dude, the black dude, and then the female MC that was Puerto Rican.
Right.
And then the same thing with the Fugees. You had the 2 MCs. I mean, they were all Haitian, but you had the 2 MCs and the female. It was almost, their styles were almost, if you really listen to a Diggable Planets album and a Fugees album, you can see the similarities. And I always wondered if it was an influence from the way the groups were set up into the style.
Right.
You know, and if you look at Lauren and Ladybug, they dressed the same.
Right.
You know, they
They
had
was on that same vibe.
same vibe, the jeans, the bango earrings, the short hair. You know, so I always thought there was some influence there. I could be wrong. Maybe it's just me speculating too deep. But that's another female MC. People, Ladybug, her flow was butter, man. Shit was just smooth, the way she rapped. But yeah, there's not a lot. You know, I think it took females a long time to get in the game, but I think now they're exiting themselves out the game. Personally,
And I gotta big up my city again. Rough House Records. They the ones that signed the Fugees.
Oh
yeah.
man.
Yeah, Rough House Records. Yeah, they signed a lot of good groups, man. Rough House Entertainment Records, whatever it was.
Yeah. Also, Cypress Hill.
Wow.
Yeah. Now, I wasn't a huge Cypress Hill fan. I gotta be honest with you. I love the beats.
Cali, right?
It would get on my nerves after a little bit. The flow. I
Hey,
mean, I
voice.
listened to it. I'm not gonna lie, but they were one of them groups I had to be in the mood to listen to.
Nah, I was a big Cypress Hill fan. I like different shit, and that
Cool
shit,
Man's classic. I mean,
that shit was real to me. Like, you know, the beats was hot, you know.
Oh, the
and,
beats was fire. That was one of the main reasons why I listened to them. I love their beats.
Yeah.
You know.
So that was different back then too when it first
Oh,
dropped.
It was. I mean, their style was different, all of them.
Brand
Yeah,
new.
that was kind of like the catch. His voice was like the catch. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, the high nasal thing. It just me. I just had to be in the mood for it.
Right.
You know. No, but I like Cypress Hill. I was playing that shit. You know.
And talking about the West Coast and beats, fucking the Alcoholics. Oh my God.
Listen, I was just listening. Alcoholics, classic. Like I told you, some of my favorite West Coast were Alcoholics, Exhibit. But I was just last week in the gym playing Souls of Mischief, 93 Till Infinity. The Hieroglyphics crew, that whole crew, I mean, Casual, Souls of Mischief, all them dudes, they put out some good music in the early to mid 90s, man. Faraside, right? They were classic too. I mean, people don't realize, I mean, it's wrong because when people immediately, which they are known for, it's one of their staples, but it's funny because when people hear LA West Coast rap, they automatically just like think LA just produced gangster rap, and that's not true.
Nah.
It's not true. There was so much different styles of rap that have come out of LA. Yes, was one of the roots and one of the, you know, the groundbreaking aspects of rap that the West Coast put out. Most definitely. They're known for gangster rap. I'm not denying that. NWA, obviously, yeah, the pioneers. But man, you go to the West Coast scene, the Bay Area, LA, there was a lot of groups in the early to mid 90s came out of LA. Had to me, it was like an East Coast style. I mean,
right.
It had East Coast beats to it, and that's why I was like Exhibit. I love Exhibit's first two albums, classics.
Yeah, facts.
Yeah,
classics. And he had rhyme skills, and he was a vivid. I looked at him as a life storyteller. Now he wasn't just telling stories about the streets. He was telling you his life story of how he was raised, the situation with his stepdad, the shit he went through. But his production, his beats, rhyme flows off the chain. Alcoholics, God, man. Alcoholics, if they didn't just rap about being drunk, but all of them dudes can rap.
The beats was, and I actually had the chance to, when they was in Philly, I actually had the chance to go see them. They put on a fucking incredible show. Yeah.
You know who the East Coast version of them they remind me of? The Beat Nuts.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah.
Intoxicated. Oh, if you never heard, anybody out here never heard Intoxicated Demons by the Beat Nuts? Check that out.
I'm a huge Beat Nuts fan, man.
Yeah, I love Beat Nuts, man. I was a huge Beat Nuts fan too when they were on the scene. But that's who they reminded me of. They were like the West Coast version of the Beat Nuts.
Yeah, I agree. With that.
When I look at it now, I'm like, shit. That's like you got the Beat Nuts, you got the Alcoholics, because they was rapping about similar shit. Because most of their tracks were about partying, getting fucked up, and
exactly
situations with girls, and that was their style. But it worked because they were able to come across like that. But yeah, man, But don't sleep on LA. Don't stereotype LA just for being known for gangster rap, Snoop, Dre, Eazy-E, and NWA. Yes, they definitely are some of the pioneers. But man, people always forget that 90s era in LA, man. They put out a lot of good fucking music.
A lot.
Yeah. Now, I never got big on the Midwest scene like Memphis and all that, like MC8 and what's some rappers from Tennessee, 8 Ball and AMG, and I was never into that. I'm gonna be honest with you.
Right.
Don't really know much about it. Now, I got into in the early to mid 90s because Gangstar did some collaborations. I did get into a little Scarface back then. Now the
I was
Ghetto
gonna say that. I was just gonna say that.
The Scarface crossed borders.
Yeah. Now I did get into a little Scarface, but I never really got into that Houston, Memphis, Midwest thing. Not for any particular reason. I just never really explored it. But we have to bring that up because they contributed a lot to hip hop too. We're talking about
I never really gravitated towards that. I will say probably my favorite, to this day, my favorite Texas rapper was DOC.
Yeah, I agree. Even though he was signed to Dre's label, but I do.
I wanted to. I was so waiting to see what he was going to do, man. That whole thing was tragic.
Yeah, DOC, man. That album is classic, man.
For sure.
Wow, it's crazy. I just played it for the first time a couple weeks ago.
Really?
And it's like literally, but I was like, wow, this shit sounds great. Like,
oh yeah. There was guys back then who were so ahead of their time. Like I say, and you just confirmed what I said earlier. If you didn't know they were from back then and you played it today, you would be like, shit, this dude got skills better than most of these motherfuckers out here. You know who I got on a kick a couple weeks ago, Taja?
What's that?
His solo work. But I get it. But another group I've always said was ahead of their time was the Ultramagnetic MCs.
Oh my God.
Say
less, bro. Say less.
Classic.
Say less. Oh my God.
But I went through a phase a couple of weeks ago where I was going through all Kool Keith's solo shit. Now, Kool Keith is still active, he's still putting out music. He's been so creative to come up with all these characters, Dr. Octagon, all these characters he creates. But I went back and listened to a lot of his solo joints. The fucking beats on there are sick, man. And even the rhyme, and it's funny because I've listened to like Dr. Octagon series and a bunch of his solo joints, but I never realized how good they was. I went back and really took my time because I haven't listened to a lot of his solo stuff in a few years. And I went back and I'm like, damn. And then I went back and I listened to the whole Critical Beatdown album. I'm like, man, this shit came out in 88.
Yeah.
It was on some futuristic next level shit.
Yeah.
They was on something that nobody was doing at that time.
They were way ahead of their time, man. Way ahead of their time.
I mean, that's another group you got to look at.
And Kool Keith his flow was just so original.
Sedgy
and Sedgy.
Yeah, there was nobody at that time that sounded like Ultramagnetic. Nobody.
Nah.
They were different.
Not even close.
Yeah, nobody was even close. This is what I'm saying. You go back and you look at how this whole thing has evolved and changed. Where in order to get in at that time, in order to be successful, that was a requirement. You couldn't, because remember what was the thing you'd get accused of if you sounded like somebody else? What would they would accuse you of what?
Biting.
Right.
That was the worst.
And you would get canceled. Like, man, you whack, you biting, man. You biting such and such out. You a biter. Now
UTFO.
it's acceptable.
UTFO, bro.
That's what I'm saying, man. Now it's acceptable to sound like everybody else.
Yep. That's the thing. Yep.
Where back then you couldn't. You wouldn't get no love. If you said, man, you biting Kane. Oh, you trying to sound like Rakim. Oh, you biting. Remember when EPMD first came out? They got accused of trying to bite off of Rakim.
Right.
And you had to be different. You had to sound different. You had to have your own style. It was a requirement to be successful back then. Now,
no doubt. The only so I'm glad you said that, because you were talking about Slick Rick earlier, and I remember in the early years, it was like I was like, "What's going on with this London thing with Slick Rick and Dana Dane?" You know what I mean?
I was going to bring Dana Dane. Always was that stigma was always attributed to him. It was tough because at that time, now I do like some Dana Dane tracks. Play This Only at Night's classic to me. Nightmares.
Yeah.
See, if you were in New York at that time, right? It was obvious Dana was to an extent trying to hop on the bandwagon because remember, Slick Rick was transitioning. He was still with the Get Fresh crew at the time with Dougie and them. And he was kind of transitioning. And that was right around when The Great Adventures, his first album came out. And that was early 88. And then I believe Dana came out with his shit late 87, 88. So because of the time frame of when that both came out, now I don't know. There was rumors, people were saying that, and again, this is pure speculation. There was rumors, people were saying Dana was trying to rush his shit out first so people couldn't say he was biting. I don't know if that's just rumors, that shit people started, but there has always been that. I don't want to say finger pointing, but there's always been that question. It's never fully been resolved. There are a lot of people, I can tell you, around my way that felt like Dana was just hopping on the bandwagon, trying to ride the coattails of Slick Rick. Now, when you listen to the style, now you could be the judge. So having said all that, when you listen to the styles, do they sound similar? Yeah, they do a bit. You know, I think Rick was way better at it, but I think Dana's trying to use that very witty storytelling, slick flow. He's biting. I believe he was biting a little bit. If that's what we're trying to get at here.
If he wasn't, that is a fucking hell of a coincidence.
It is a hell of a coincidence. Exactly.
But somebody has said, it was Rick Rubin in his book. He was like spiritually, he said, when an idea is supposed to come into manifestation, he's like, if you don't do it, it's going to come through somebody else. And he's like, that's the reason why you get people like that come out with similar shit. Yeah. And that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. And it could be. Right. But I think you're, like you said, it's a hell of a coincidence.
Yeah.
It's I mean, you look at the time frame now, if you were there, you clearly would have a better understanding of it, why we're saying what we're saying. But I think you see what happened. You see how it all ended up. You see where Slick Rick went. Dan was just a flash in the pan. Obviously, he didn't last too long. He had a couple years of fame.
Right.
You know, I know he's still around here and there. Actually, if I could be wrong, but I'm almost certain. I think after his career started to fizzle out, he moved to Texas and then he got on some independent label there, but it flopped.
Okay.
Yeah. If you look it up, if I'm not mistaken, he still is in Texas to this day. I could be wrong, but I remember when his career started fizzling out in New York, and I think his record company had dropped him. Yeah, he released. It didn't make any type of noise. He released his last album. He signed with some independent label out of Texas somewhere. He released the album. It was bad. Yeah. So, but you see where that went, longevity wise. You see what happened. You see, what happened with Slick Rick.
Yeah, no doubt.
And obviously, you see what happened with them. But I do think there was, you couldn't do that back then. I'm telling you, biting was the worst thing you could do back then. That's what we called it. Oh, you bite, meaning you copying somebody, you stealing their shit. And if you were known as a biter back then, you got no love from nobody. You had no respect.
You get shut down.
You get shut down. Oh, you trying to bite such and such. Oh, you playing yourself. You trying to, nah, you couldn't do that shit back then, man. It just was unacceptable.
Not at
Now,
all.
I swear to God, if I'm just flipping through TV and I barely turn on a radio in my car. So forget, if I'm flipping through TV on some of these shows or music video, whatever, I swear to God, everybody want to sound like Drake. Everybody and their mother want to do this sing-along mumble rap shit. And this is acceptable. Nobody's like saying, man, that shit is whack. Or man,
Drake or Future.
Drake or Few.
Yeah,
I
like
can't
those
even
the
understand.
archetypes.
I can't even make out a word
Those
that dude
two
says.
archetypes.
Yep.
Yeah. It's like,
Mhm.
or if it's ibbity dibbity doo, shibbity bibbity bop, shibbity doobity boo, Mary ran over ABC.
That shit
One
is,
dude, it's like, come on, man. It's
that
just,
shit is
this is
nuts.
why I'm saying I have that approach to what's going on nowadays. It's like the shit that people are doing today, you wouldn't be able to get away with that shit back in the day. You would get called out for it. And now this big thing, all this stuff that's coming to the surface in the industry about ghostwriters, that was non-existent back then.
Right.
You had to write your own rhymes, but now all this shit is coming out, which further tells you what the A&R is just trying to take an individual that might have a look, a style that they feel that they could promote, ain't got a lick of worth of talent, can't rap, ain't got no skills, but they can mask all that shit because they're just looking at the markability of the person.
Yep.
Facts.
But now it's like ghostwriters is a normal thing. All this shit's coming out. This one was a ghostwriter for that one. This one wrote rhymes for this. Kanye was writing ghost rhymes. It's like this shit is crazy. Back then, there was none of that shit.
Yeah, that shit was unheard of back then.
Unheard of.
That's the norm now. Like a lot of artists, I be like, yeah, somebody write for her.
Yeah,
You know,
it's
or
like
him.
it's like this is what happens when it got corrupted now. But anyway. Real quick before it gets late, let's talk about some of the celebrations. Let's wrap it up with that. We didn't talk about that. So one of the inspirations of doing this show tonight was obviously the many celebrations of 50 years of hip hop that went on in the country. Probably the two most notable ones. There was a big one in Houston that took place, but obviously Yankee Stadium in the Bronx, which is considered the birthplace of hip hop, put on a multi-day show that was phenomenal, man. You could catch a lot of the performances on YouTube. Just Google it. A lot of clips, full performances too of these artists. You can catch them. I think they did a good job, not just capturing, a lot of New York artists. They did do a good job of capturing LA, the Midwest, down south. I thought they did a really good job. Of course, everybody's going to have their complaints and opinions. You can't cover everybody, obviously. But man, I mean, they to me they brought out all the pioneers that I can think of that I grew up listening to. Rakim, EPMD. They had Wu-Tang, Redman. I mean, Run DMC. Who we missing here? Big Daddy Kane. We said Rakim.
MC Pen. Who else? I think you mentioned LL, right?
Yeah, no, I didn't mention LL.
Slick Rick and Dougie Fresh.
Slick Rick, Dougie Fresh, De La Soul. That's who Rakim came out after. And De La Soul was having problems with the mic.
The fucking mic, the sound man was terrible with the mics, man.
Oh, he fucked up De La Soul's performance. Fucked it up.
It was so many people, so many times, like somebody was performing. It took them like a good 45 seconds, 50 seconds to get the mics, back up or whatever. Like, wow, I don't understand it.
And in the early part, if you watch it, in the early part of Rakim's performance, his sound was bad, and then they switched his mic. You'll see, they walk out on stage to give him a different mic.
Right.
Yeah, he totally butchered De La Soul's performance. Completely.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's
and
wild.
Rakim really got the crowd back into the crowd. You could tell they were a little bit pissed off because they were, you could tell they were looking forward to seeing De La Soul, but the sound man fucked it up. I don't know what was going on. And L did what? He did a Rock the Bells 50th anniversary thing too.
Yeah, I didn't see that. I heard about it though.
Yeah, he
Oh,
put on
yeah,
some
yeah.
show. So there was a lot of stuff going on this summer, celebrating 50 years of hip hop. But the
Beautiful.
Yankee Stadium thing probably was the biggest because it was
I
a
think
multi.
Mass Appeal,
Yeah, it was a big
Nas.
celebration.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was good to see that, and it's crazy. You know, it's a beautiful thing to me to see, seeing guys like Method Man, Redman, Kane, and Big Daddy Kane looking just as good. Yeah,
Yeah,
they got a little bit older, but them motherfuckers
Mhm.
look in shape.
yeah,
Motherfuckers haven't lost a beat. These motherfuckers are our age, and they out there putting these young boys to shame, man.
yeah.
Facts.
True, true.
Facts. Agree.
Kane out there,
Agree.
not even out of breath, dancing around. He in his mid-50s.
Right.
Breath
Hitting
control.
every bar, hitting everything, not even out of breath, breathing heavy. Rakim,
LL, same thing.
yeah, Rakim sound like you're back in the 80s.
Right.
That's
Not
skill.
missing a beat. Redman and Method Man are in better shape today because you could tell
they
they
were
exercise and lifting weights than they were back then.
Right.
Facts.
Right.
And they sound just as fucking good.
That's the
Right.
crazy part. Sound great.
Yeah.
Cadence, delivery, like, and they transcend. You know, like.
Yeah. Their set was off the chain. I mean, I know they were part of that whole Wu set, but
Yeah.
they did some of their stuff that they did together, and man, it sounded.
Oh yeah, the black. What was the album? The Blackout.
Oh
I
yeah,
believe.
Black. Yeah, they're both of their
Something
albums.
like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, that was a duo that collaborated. It worked.
Mm-hmm.
Shit worked. I mean, this is the shit that I'm talking about. That's the difference between MCs that had skills that transcend, that were timeless, because here they are today, still just as good and even better than they were back then. It's fucking nuts.
It is. It's crazy.
It's
crazy.
nuts. I mean,
And
watch
the respect.
even that verses. If nobody saw that verses, what was about a year or so ago that Kane did with KRS-One.
Yeah.
Off the chain, both of them. KRS-One is another one, timeless.
Yeah.
Timeless.
Timeless. That dude's. I think he's better now than he was back then.
Yeah.
Oh,
Definitely.
The
yeah,
shit
Definitely.
he's
he's a
putting out
great
now is
rapper.
better. I mean, I love everything he's put out. I mean, his first 3 joints, classic. Well, not shit. I'm gonna say his first 5 joints. But he's putting out his last 3 out. Streetlight.
Yeah.
That man, shit.
Yeah. Ridiculous.
Shit.
Yeah.
Streetlight Part 1 and 2.
Like he transcended. Like he's still hard like how he was back then.
And he's in his late 50s.
Right.
And he'll
Right.
eat somebody ass up. Any of these dudes today, he eat them like ass, bro.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
Chew 'em up, spit them out like nothing.
Right.
This is what I'm saying. Look, I got right here with me. I keep it with me, baby. I told you, man. Y'all got to get this. If you don't, you got to have it. Gotta have it, man. The gospel of hip hop.
No doubt. No doubt.
Gotta have it. That's the man that infused a whole different level of spirituality. And like I said, every Sunday he's live on his YouTube channel. Hip hop.
My man said in the 80s, 50 years down the line, you can start this. It will be the old school artist. And even in that time, I'll say a rhyme, a brand new style, ruthless and wild.
That's right.
And what?
I'm telling you,
Supreme.
you can't fuck with KRS-One even now. Who today out there? Please don't say Kendrick Lamar. Who today out there? Because everybody likes to go there. Look, Kendrick's good. Don't get me wrong, but Kendrick couldn't hang with any of these dudes. Who out there today could you say could fuck with him?
They ain't got the. You know, he's been great for so many years. Like, you know, before, like, you know, like.
And he's
still
a
great
battle
in our
rapper,
era.
and he can freestyle. Don't negate that. He's not just a write rhymes down on paper shit.
On the top.
He could do all of those things.
Yeah.
This is what I'm saying, man. It's just
1-on-1.
You know, it was good to see all these different celebrations. It's good to see some of these artists are still around, going strong. And if I'm wrong, correct me. It's like we're almost seeing a resurgence of a lot of these old artists coming back.
Yeah, no doubt.
It looks to me like in the last 3 years or so. I mean, the one thing that really blew my fucking mind, and I saw it on YouTube. about a year or so ago. I think I mentioned it on one of the older shows we did. It was an interview with Big Daddy Kane, and he was talking about how hip hop has become so large, even bigger in places outside of the U.S. I mean, he was talking about Russia, and he had a show he did in Russia. This shit blew me away. And he was talking about he had issues with the flight. The flight was delayed, and he was heading to a show. And because the flight was late, he was really late, and they had lost his luggage. And he talked about how he had to find a place in the airport to buy something that he could wear to put together, because he was traveling on the plane in just like regular casual clothes. Just like when you fly, you might just want to wear a t-shirt, pair of shorts, something to just, you're flying. It's a long flight. You want to be comfortable. And they lost all his luggage because he had to the flight got delayed. They had to transfer flights. So, mine's I've had to go back. It's happened to me. When they transfer flights, sometimes the luggage, unfortunately, don't make it there at the same time sometimes.
Facts.
So he talks about how he was in the airport in Russia. He had to buy some clothes. He leaves straight from the airport, goes straight to the show in Russia. And they showed a clip of it. And if you saw the love he got there in that show in Russia, and how they formed a cipher, like how these people, the old school cipher, the circle, and people, while he's rapping and performing, people getting in the circle, dancing, breaking, like doing all this shit. And he said he was blown away by how much knowledge they had of a history of the culture. Now, we're talking about Russia, where that's probably I know in Japan, I've heard a story, England,
Russia?
but we're talking about a place you would never think. And Kane said there's hip hop head following in Russia. You wouldn't even know if you didn't go there to see.
Battle rapping is big too in Russia.
Yeah.
And
it made me think how fucking sad it is that, and not in a bad way, it just made me shake my head. Look at this shit. These motherfuckers appreciate the culture more than where it originated from. Ain't that a motherfucker?
That's wild.
When I heard that story, it blew me away. Like, and I'm also saying to myself, here it is. See, we think because maybe we don't hear their music all the time. Here it is, a guy who put his first single out with Biz Markie in '87. Here we are in 2023, and this dude's still around doing shows in Russia. Come on, man.
Come on, that's beautiful.
Come on. I mean, need I say anymore? That speaks for itself, man.
Man, longevity.
But listen, man, it's getting a little late. I know there's more I would like to talk about, but it's getting about that time. I need to do a few things, but I just wanted to acknowledge all the celebrations. I don't know if there's anything quick I missed, Taj. I don't know if there's anything else you want to point out. I know we can't get to everything, but I just kind of wanted to touch base. Was there anything we missed?
I mean, yeah, it's so much, bro. I mean, I just wanted to say one of the things that stood out in the performances for me was this Dougie Fresh Slick Rick performance.
Got more rival. Yeah.
Slick Rick was on, and then it's funny because it kind of threw me for a loop because Slick Rick was on earlier, then Dougie Fresh came on, and I forget who was on stage with him at the time. He started Lottie Dottie, and it made me question for a second, like,
it was Snoop.
Snoop, yeah, Snoop. And I was like, why is Slick Rick not out there?
And then Slick Rick walked out in the middle of the set.
Yeah.
That bizarre beatbox solo Dougie did at the end.
Oh, it was crazy. It was ridiculous.
The crowd ate that shit up.
But again, that's a testament to him being an entertainer, the greatest entertainer.
He truly lives up to that. And look, back in the day, now I'll be honest with you. When Dougie's albums came out, the first two, the first one when Slick was still, I think they lost the element when Slick Rick went solo. The Entertainer will always be a classic, but the one he put out outside of Ain't No Half Stepping. Now remember, he did a song called that before Kane did.
Yeah, right.
He used Ain't no half stepping.
Yeah, I love that song.
Get fresh groove. Yeah, yeah. But I mean, I never was a huge Dougie fan.
Mm-hmm.
And Dougie will be the first to tell you he to me probably was, before there were a lot of Harlem rappers out there, he had that Harlem vibe. He had that Harlem style.
Right.
You know, wasn't a lot of Harlem rappers out back then. He probably was the first that put Harlem on the map. Right. He's probably, I mean, obviously after that, a lot of, you know, you got Diddy and a whole bunch of people that come after the fact. But if you say who was the first, like, really known rapper on wax, and somebody might come with some old school cat that, you know, might have been known, but I'm saying like straight became popular Harlem. I mean, that was Dougie all day, but he had that uptown flow. Like he, if you from New York, uptown cats had a certain vibe. They still do, because it's always going to be uptown is uptown, downtown is downtown, Lower East Side. Every borough, every part of Manhattan, it's got its own vibe. Dougie was that uptown dude. He had that vibe, but I never really thought, and he'd probably be the first to tell you that, I never really thought he had amazing rhyme skills. Like, he was okay.
Yeah.
Because he was more of an entertainer. But
more of an entertainer. It was more of a party vibe.
Party vibe. But I'll tell you what, having said that, you may not be a big Dougie Fresh fan, as far as you might not say he's the most talented MC, but I'll tell you what, I guarantee you go to a Dougie Fresh show, you won't be able to sit down for more than 2-3 minutes. You're gonna get up.
Yeah, for sure.
That's how good his show is, and that's how good he is at being an entertainer. That beatbox, I don't care. We still get enamored by that. I don't care how old we get.
Yeah.
You remember back in the day when it first came out, Fat Boys and all that, we were all trying to do it. Spitting on motherfuckers. Yeah, but it's just when you see Dougie live, though,
that's captivating. That's captivating.
He's an entertainer. But this is what, look, every genre, even if you go into other genres for the most part, right? I mean, again, I'm going back. It was the same really across the board. If you looked at pop music back then, rock music, heavy metal, it was the same back then. It's changed though. Now it's like, when we shift a little bit to a spiritual perspective, is this part of the programming? Absolutely, in my opinion. When we talk from a spiritual perspective and we leave the entertainment aspect alone, yes, I do think it's part of the process of controlling how we think. I do think there's an agenda of what they want to stamp in our subconscious mind, how we feel.
I think it's obvious. Yeah.
You know, and let me say this. I don't want to forget this. Ed Lover said something on there that really got my attention on that show. He said the problem with the artists now, these cats are all low vibrational frequency dudes.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah.
He said these cats, that's why the rap is so low vibrational frequency.
Yeah.
He said because these cats are on Molly's and Percocets and they writing all this low vibrational, this is the words he used, low vibrational frequency.
Wow.
And I was like, what the fuck? You got to check that interview out if you didn't watch it. Watch the whole. I'm telling you, if you're a hip hop head, hip hop historian, you love hip hop and it influenced you, I'm telling you, you ain't gonna be able to not watch that whole thing. There's no fucking way. You'll be glued to that. Ed Lover is dropping the science on the history of hip hop and that. He was talking about that. He said all the music coming out now is low vibrational frequency music.
Facts.
He said back then our shit was upbeat and we
want to dance.
He said now it's this low vibration. He said if you look at the videos, they ain't even moving in the video, they're like mummies.
Yeah.
It's where we at. It's where we at. But yeah, man, I don't know if there's anything else.
So was that Lauryn Hill's performance was amazing. And I thought
I didn't see that one.
You missed that one. All right. Yeah, that was amazing. And then the epitome of it to me, as far as just like epitomizing hip hop, was Nas bringing out Cool G Rap to perform You know, like and then calling him a legend. You know what I mean? Like that's like that's
Listen,
something he never got. You know what I'm saying? He deserves
Right.
it.
one of the most underslept MCs of all time. Listen,
Yeah.
go check. He just put out within the last year, about 8-9 months ago. Pull up Cool G Rap's new album.
I'm finna buzz him.
Trust me when I tell you. Pull up, just released the new. Every track on there certified fucking banger. Not one weak track on that whole album.
Say less.
Classic. He's a dude too. One, underrated. You know who his first wife was, right?
Oh yeah,
No,
Superhead.
Huh?
Superhead, right?
Superhead, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
And that song on that first album is about her, which most people don't know. But his newest album, well, let me take the release date. It came out within the last 8 to 10 months.
Really?
Yeah, and he sounds better on this shit, and just as good as he sounded back in the day on the Butcher Shop, if you believe it or not.
Wow.
Hold on. I think it was mid. Hold on, I'm gonna tell you right now.
Cool G Rap kind of was like a father to like Nas in his
Okay,
sense,
yeah.
in his flow. Mm-hmm.
It's the last of a dying breed. It came out end of December. It came out December 9th, 2022.
Okay.
Oh, this recent.
Yeah, I knew I wasn't sure if it was the beginning of the year or the end of last year. So it's 11 songs. There's not one weak song on this whole fucking album.
No more.
Wow. Nice.
I mean,
Nice.
every song is off the chain, man. And I'm
I like
glad you bring up Cool G Rap because I think he doesn't. I'm glad Nas did it, but Nas has always said, because he's a queen, he's Queensbridge too.
Right.
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 Nas has always acknowledged Cool G Rap over the years,
Right.
many
Mhm.
times.
Right.
Yeah.
And what made cool, I think actually, in my opinion, I think the little lisp you hear in Cool G Rap's flow makes it sound unique.
It does. Absolutely. I never had a problem with that.
Me
I never
neither.
had a problem with that.
It works.
Yeah, it does.
I
It
mean,
definitely
Road
does.
to the Riches, probably one of the most. That came out in 1989. That was another impactful album for me, man.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
To
dad
me,
loved Cool G Rap.
1989 had so many albums that were impactful in my life. That's also when 3 Times Dope came out with Funky Dividends,
Mm-hmm.
Master Ace. You
PE.
had who?
PE.
P. Big Daddy Kane. I mean, 89, man, they came out with some albums in 89, man.
Yeah.
Tribe Called Quest first album came out in 1989.
Damn,
The
89.
Distinctive Travels album that came out in 89. Man, I mean, a lot of good Jungle Brothers.
I was gonna say Jungle Brothers. Yup.
Oh, man.
You took it
I
right off my
mean,
tongue.
summer of 89. My God. God damn, I got some good memories of the summer of 1989.
Hell yeah.
It's so much like music catalog coming up in my era, like going back. It's so many things and so many artists, like that you would never, this is beautiful because it's like, man, this history is rich,
No doubt. And no face, it's a lot of shit that you if you don't know, it's a lot of shit you can explore, man. It'll take you on a whole journey. You know what I'm saying? And it'll take you a long time to get through a lot of it.
Oh, yeah. 50 years and counting. But I do think it's essential, like anything else, start from the beginning.
Right.
Go start with the the George Clinton P-Funk. You got to start in the 70s because you'll appreciate it.
Yeah.
You'll appreciate it. Now, don't get me wrong. Look, I'll tell you right now. Look, I'm gonna tell you right now on a playlist that I created. Look, just to show you, and I created. Let me just run some of the fucking names. You're gonna get a kick out of this shit.
Yeah.
Just show you. I still listen to this shit sometimes. So I got a list for an example. This is my first what I title it? Because I'm I got a old school. I think it's old school hip hop or hip hop 1. And I went like down. Hold on, let me pull it. Just throw some titles at you. Where is it?
A lot of range.
Here we go. All right. This is the first. In this playlist, I got 146 songs, 10 hours and 49 minutes. All right.
Mhm.
First song is Nucleus, jam on it. What People Do for Money, Divine Sounds. The Message by Grandmaster Flash. The Adventures of Grandmaster Flash. The King. Beat Street. Together Forever by Run DMC. Sucker MCs. Peter Piper. Hard Times. Rockbox. Hollis Crew. List goes on. But this is how I did my. Then I got PE's. Don't sleep on PE's first album before It Takes a Nation to Million. People forget they had an album before that.
Right.
Mm.
Right.
And you had on there My Uzi Weighs a Ton, Right Starter. That was the album before It Takes a Nation of Millions. Then I got a whole Public Enemy from Black Steel, Don't Believe the Hype, Rebel Without a Pause.
Mm.
And this was probably the most impactful album on me, 1990, Fear of a Black Planet.
Yeah.
Mm.
Welcome to the Terror Dome and Fight the Power. I used to, man, first thing I did when I went into a club, I used to go to the DJ, tell him to play that shit. I'm just going to run through just these artists. Top Billing, Make It Funky. I was an Audio 2 head. They were hot. MC Light, I got after that. Stetsa Sonic, Forever My Beat, Go Stetsa, On Fire, This Is It, Sally, Talking All That Jazz. Then after that, I got EPMD, a whole long list from all their albums. It's My Thing, You a Customer, You Got to Chill, What You Saying, The Big Payback, that beat is off the chain. Rampage with LL. Symphony remix they did. Then I got a whole list follows that. LL from I'm at song 63 now. There's Rock the Bells, I'm Bad, I Need Love, Jingling Baby, Buck 'em Down, Pink Cookies in a plastic bag, No Frontin' Allowed, Funkadelic Relic, Backseat. All right, then it goes from L to 3 Times Dope, Tough Crew. This is on my Philly list comes in after that. Oh, and I think they performed too, the Crooklyn Dodgers, Special Ed.
Yeah.
They were all on stage together.
You
Buckshot,
mentioned Special Ed.
Special
Yeah.
Ed, Master Ace.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a
Lieutenant.
good performance. I got that on here.
That was cool.
Mobb Deep. I snuck a Mob. I don't know how Mobb Deep got in there. Gangstar.
Right.
Wu-Tang, Biggie. I mean, I'm just going through the list here, man. Raekwon, DMX, AZ, Lost Boys. I want a couple tracks from Lost Boys. Oh, another rapper, man. Pete Rock and CL Smooth, man.
No doubt. Can't forget them.
I have a whole list on here. I mean, the list goes on and on, man.
Their songs, their songs everywhere.
And then you look at fucking you can't forget with Boogie Down Productions, man. KRS put a lot of dudes on the map at that time. You know, he put D Nice out there, Miss Melody, Just Ice. BDP at that time, I mean, they may not have sustained longevity, but there was a period in the 80s and 90s, man. They were prominent. Like, D Nice is too. Now, you know what? Where did I see him? Oh, he was on the D Nice performed on the BET 50-year celebration. Something must have happened to his voice, though.
Okay.
No. If you listen, something's wrong. I think he has some type of issue or condition. The performance was terrible.
Okay.
He tried to do They Call Me D Nice.
Right.
But no, I'm saying it's not because he performed terrible.
It's just his voice.
He's got something wrong. You could tell he's dealing with something.
Right.
I mean, he did his best to get through it, but immediately you can tell, something not right. He got something going on, some health issue, or I don't know what was going on. But that was another, album, D Nice to the Rescue. That was a prominent album. We didn't even talk about Jersey cats. There was a lot of Jersey artists that were, King's Son, Righteous but Ruthless, classic.
Poor Righteous Teachers.
Of course, can't forget Poor Righteous Teachers. YZ, he slept on.
YZ.
Another artist out of Jersey.
Naughty.
Last long, but he put out some good music.
Naughty by Nature.
Naughty by Nature for sure. Queen Latifah, Flavor Unit.
Oh yeah, shit.
Yeah, that whole crew. Apache. I mean, he was part of the Flavor Unit though.
Right.
Yeah, man, there was a lot of cats. Can't forget the Jersey rappers. Now, two groups I love that of Jersey with the Bush Babies and Artifacts.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
Artifacts.
Definitely.
They only put out 2 albums, but that Artifact shit is classic. Go listen to them if you haven't heard them 2 Artifacts albums. Those were some cats from Jersey. I thought they were ahead of that time. Fushnikins, I ain't care for, man. I don't know. They annoyed me.
Nah, I wasn't loving them.
I wasn't a huge Fushnikins fan. They just annoyed the fuck out of me. I don't know what it was. It's just, I don't know. I think they were playing off of the Das Effects. Miggity, miggity, shiggity, miggity, miggity.
Yeah.
And I think that's what did some of them groups in. That's why they disappeared. And I think, in my opinion, Das Effects could never shake that style. That's why they faded to the black.
Yeah.
Now they're still doing some old school shit, touring and stuff. But you remember that shiggity miggity, miggity, miggity. That was hot for about 3 years, 2-3 years.
Yeah.
You know, that was the crisscross, the miggity, man. You know, it was
Jay-Z did it too. Jay-Z did it too.
Yeah, but Jay transitioned. He was smart. He got out of
it.
But I'll tell you to this day, I said this before in the past, I'm gonna say it again. Jay got his style from Big L. Don't let nobody prove it.
Oh yeah.
You listen to I told you can still find the audio of it or the YouTube of it.
The freestyle
with Stretch and Bobbito.
Yeah.
That he did with Big L.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
But you know what one of the most nastiest songs is that nobody ever talks about? That's on Big L's, I think it's the Lifestyles of the Poor and Dangerous, or it might be the second one.
Yeah.
That shit he did with Tupac. Classic.
I think run that one back.
Yeah,
Right.
it's hold on, I'll tell you. The name classic.
I ain't listened to that album in years. Jeez.
Yeah, the duo he did with Tupac. I mean, I played that thing one time like 15 times straight.
I'm playing that.
The name, I'm drawing a blank. I would know it, thinking I played it so goddamn much.
The phone.
Hold on. Deadly Combination.
Yeah, there you go.
That's the song. I knew it was Deadly something. I couldn't remember the second word. That track right there. And here's the thing with Tupac, right?
Mm-hmm.
Lyrically, he's good, but is he a great flow-wise? Is he great? I'm just gonna be honest with you. No.
Mm-hmm.
Is the way he presents his rap, the way the style, it works over his beats. I say that to say this. If you listen, I like Tupac better over a straight East Coast beat than I do a West Coast beat. The reason why I say that, because if you listen to Deadly Combination, to me, Tupac got more skills and lyrical flow when he's rapping over a beat like that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm not saying he can't flow, because he can flow.
No,
he got skills. I'll even say that, like people say the same thing with, I love Biggie, but was Biggie one of the, have the most nastiest lyrical flow? Let's be honest. No, he didn't. But his style, see, don't confuse style with flow. Tupac and Biggie had styles that were unique that nobody had.
Facts.
That's what made them amazing. But if you're talking about lyrical skill, flow-wise, let's just be honest. Don't get all sentimental up in your feelings because they transitioned. Let's just call it for what it is. There were plenty of dudes out at that time that had way better flow than both of them.
Oh, for sure.
I agree.
No doubt.
1,000%.
Yeah, but style-wise, no. They was on a whole nother level.
Yeah.
Nobody sounded like Tupac's. Tupac had his own style.
He definitely did.
Nobody sound like Biggie with that,
Yeah.
I can't breathe flow. And,
Yeah.
I'm from Brooklyn, that big dude from, nobody had that flow.
Nobody. Yeah, right.
Yeah, that's 1-on-1.
But if you want to hear a different style, if nobody, I'm just speaking in general to people that might watch this. If you want to hear Tupac with a totally I wish I could play it. I just don't want no copyright infringement. If you want to hear Tupac's, you'd be like, damn. And it made me wonder when I first heard that song years ago. I said, I wonder what like Tupac would sound if DJ Premier produced a whole album for him.
Oh, ridiculous.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's what it made me say. Like, how would Tupac sound over all Primo beats?
Because he's from New York too. Tupac
he was born and was there, and then later left, of course.
Yep. So that makes sense.
Like I loved him in Juice. Juice is a classic, right? We didn't even talk about movies, hip hop
Movies,
movies.
yeah.
Hip
Yeah.
hop movie, Jesus.
But Juice was like, to me, is the all-time bar for hip hop movies anyway. For me,
Yeah,
because that was,
absolutely.
to me, was some New York shit that I could relate to.
No
Yeah, I
way.
know you got Boys in the Hood. You know, what's the other one? What's the other big one with Trey Diggs? God,
Um,
the one that came out right around after Boys in the Hood.
Mr. Society.
Minister Society. That's
Yeah.
it.
Good one too. But
Yeah.
but the movie that did it for me, that captured New York, that captured what was going on at that time, that I connected with because I lived in that era and could attest to the way they filmed that movie.
Yeah.
Juice,
Just
Juice to me.
that's why it's so great then.
Yeah.
Hey, Beniti, I thought you was gonna say tougher than leather.
Now tougher than leather. Let me tell you something, man. Listen. Look, Crush Groove was one thing. It's funny because I remember seeing tougher than leather in the movie theater. Yeah, I was rough. It was a rough go. I was a DMC supporter. You know, they Queens cats. I'm a Long Island Queens dude. So I support all my Long Island Queens artists. But yeah, tougher than leather. That was.
Now, with that said, do you remember Bumpy Knuckles?
Yeah, I remember Bumpy Knuckles.
Yeah,
Sure.
he's another underrated MC.
Yeah, they don't talk about him. I mean, shit. If we go into the category, man, that could be a whole nother show, man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Bumpy Knuckles.
We're gonna have to do that. We're gonna have to do that one day.
Yeah, we mentioned Bumpy Knuckles on an older show. You brought it up one time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it came up. Yeah, we got to do a show geared towards cats like that. Yeah, but see, this is why it's important to know their history because you got cats like that if you're not really I don't know if hip hop historian is the right word, but if you're not educated in hip hop culture, you would never know about a guy like that, man.
Right.
You'd have no clue. And this is why I think, and there was another thing again. I got to go back to the Ed Lover interview on Math Hoffa. He said at the very end, Math Hoffa asked him if there's two things that you could change about hip hop, what would you change? Right? And I said, man, that's a good ass question. So I was all ears. I said, let me see what Ed's going to say here. Ed paused for about 20 seconds and he had me and I'm like, all right, what's he going to say? He said, I would change the way the old school and the new school interacted with each other. And so Matt said, well, what do you mean? He said, the problem that's caused all the shit we're seeing now that's wrong. He said the problem was a lot of us old heads didn't want to hear anything they had to say. We were stuck in our ways. And I'll be honest with you, I could be guilty of that. But he said at the same token, they don't want to listen to us because we can teach them a lot of things. They can learn. He said they got more technological savvy. They living in a different area. They doing shit that we didn't know about. So we can learn from them on that end of the game because how the business side of it's changed, the streaming, the technology, the marketing, where we weren't up on that.
Right.
Yeah, but we could school them on some of the fundamentals to make sure they don't make the same mistakes that we made, and we could teach them things. So he said, the first thing I would change is the way the old school and the new school interact with each other. He said, if we both realize we both could learn from each other, this whole thing would probably be a little different than it is now. I said, man, could have said it any better. Right. And then the second thing he said, if he could change that East Coast, West Coast shit never happened.
Yeah.
You know, he said that's the two things I would change if it was only two, and that Biggie and Tupac were in casualties in that. So, yeah, I mean, it is what it is. It's part of the history. I'm not about canceling any history out. I think you should know it, whether it's good or bad, right? It's canceling it doesn't change, right? That's the problem with this cancel culture shit in this country now. People think by canceling it, like I said, when all that shit was going on during the pandemic and the George Floyd shit and racial tensions were high, and that was all part of the program and shit. So taking Aunt Jemima off a fucking pancake bottle isn't going to change nothing.
Don't change nothing. Right.
Taking
Exactly.
Uncle Ben off a box of rice isn't going to. Look, I sat back and thought about that. All the years I used Aunt Jemima pancake, I never looked at it once as racist. Never.
Mhm.
Until motherfuckers had to point it out.
Mhm.
Right.
I just like the shit.
Right. I'd rather hear facts.
Yeah. So
Right.
taking Aunt Jemima or Uncle Ben off a box or a jar, not taking a statue down of a Confederate soldier doesn't change the fact that Confederate racism existed. So you think you can cancel this shit?
Right.
Mhm.
Right.
Keep that shit up as a reminder for this shit to never happen again. There's two ways to look at it.
Right.
Mhm.
Right.
Agree.
Take it down. It's offensive. Man, please.
I agree.
So we need to be reminded for sure.
Facts.
Yeah, you can't cancel culture out,
Mhm.
right? Look, it's always look. You could take a statue down. That doesn't change what happened.
Facts.
I think you need to know the history of the South and the North.
Mhm.
That's part of the South's history. I'm not. Look, do you know the thing? One thing that blew my fucking mind. I don't know if I might have said this on a past YouTube video class. This blew my mind. Okay, I was in Macon, Georgia.
Mhm.
I'll never forget. There's a place called Smiley's Flea Market. And I'm going to say it was 99, 2000. It was around that time, 99, 2000, right? And I'm in the flea market and I see it was four young black dudes, right? They were around my age at the time, in their 30s. And they were wearing these Confederate flag shirts. Fucked me up. So I'm like, this blew me away. I ain't never seen no shit like this. So it was me, my boy Calvin, my boy Curly. I had to stop them. I had to. I mean, there's just no fucking way because this shit just blew my mind.
Yeah.
So I stopped them. I said, hey, bro, hey, we called them over. They were cool. Like, hey, what's up? I said, bro, don't take this the wrong way. We just curious. We don't mean this in any offensive way. We're just a little confused. He knew right away. The one dude said, the shirts, right? I said, absolutely, bro. I ain't never seen a dark-skinned black man in the Deep South wearing a big-ass Confederate flag. So I didn't realize they got a group down there called the Sons of the Confederate, right? You can go look this up. It's like, I wouldn't say it's a lodge, but it's like a fraternity.
Really?
Yeah, yeah. And I'm telling you what the dude was relating to me. And he was saying, part of that group, there's a large membership that acknowledges the fact of a lot of the black Confederate soldiers that fought on the side of the Confederate. So they represent the Confederate flag because they wanted to be known that there were a lot of black Confederate soldiers. And I understood that at the point when he said it, but I said, how do you deal with the flag? Because the obvious person looks at that flag and immediately is going to associate it with hate.
Right.
But see, it made me think of where we're at now on this path now, how people look at shit on the surface and can be judgmental.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's not that we were being judgmental. We were just taken back by it. But if you look this up, Google it, Sons of the Confederate. It's like I would say it's like what's that other shit they got that's real big? It's like a fraternity, the Elks Lodge, like the Elks.
Right.
It's like that type of thing. It's like a lodge. Not when I say lodge, I don't want you to think it's like a Masonic lodge.
Yeah.
It's like a social lodge or
like the Sons of Italy.
Yeah, like the Sons of Italy or something like that. Correct. And it's called Sons of the Confederate. And apparently there's a large black membership in the Sons of the Confederate. And that blew me the fuck away. I didn't know that. And these dudes is walking around, these big and not, people weren't looking at them like they were crazy there. We were, because we were like, what the fuck?
I've seen that in the South too. Just living out here. Yeah.
You see it over there too?
Yeah, oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
All my years, like you'll see that occasionally. And even the cultures, like the black people and the white people, they kind of grow up in areas, they grow up the same. You know what I'm saying? So like it's like an intermingle of those cultures. where it kind of looks, like a little peace rally. So you'll see that influence a
Yeah.
lot,
Yeah.
them wearing the Confederate shit. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I just saw it in the corner of my eye. Mandy put in there New Jack City. Can't forget that. That's a classic.
Ooh.
Oh yeah,
Jeez.
New Jack City.
With-
That's probably one of Wesley's best roles he ever
oh,
played.
no doubt,
Yeah.
no doubt.
Easily. Shit,
One of
that and Blade.
yeah, Blade too. Yeah, I love Blade.
Hey
But
B,
man,
I know you don't drink a lot, but I picked this up the Nas 50th anniversary commemoratory Hennessy bottle.
Oh
okay,
man.
that's
See,
nice. Nice,
Yeah,
nice.
that ain't
that's
getting
a
open, but
collector's
you know,
item.
No,
yeah,
save
exactly,
that.
That's
Save
exactly,
that.
collector's.
It's a collectible right there.
no doubt.
But
Yeah,
oh
I'm gonna
yeah,
cut that.
Mandy's going on a tangent with movies over here. Yeah, but New Jack City soundtrack, man, that
Oh
soundtrack
man.
fucking
Oh
changed.
yeah, that was man, classic.
Every song on that soundtrack, man,
Damn.
shit.
Classic.
You can't forget New Jack City. That took
Damn,
it.
what a movie. Wow.
That
Timeless.
depicted now shit. The way they depicted the crack era. Now you got to remember where I grew up in Queens. I grew up during the time Fat Cat, all those cat man. Fat Cat was like he was like how Wesley was in that movie. I mean
Facts.
that character was portrayed off of some of the big drug dealers. It was a combination of Frank White, Fat Cat. They were trying to portray like that what was going on.
Right.
But when they show you in the beginning of New Jack City how they're trying to give a quick synopsis of what was going on with the crack game, it was serious. It was like that, man. They were taking over projects. I mean, though it was a little Hollywood, but they were
That's some
showing.
Middle Eastern shit.
Yeah. I mean, literally, you would have certain project houses that you'd come in through. They would guard the front with semi-automatic weapons. I mean, they literally controlled the time, just like you saw in that movie. Wasn't exaggerated. There were places like that back in the day. As fucked up as that was, man, crack houses, and then obviously fucking Pookie, fucking Chris Rock played a role.
Oh man.
Oh man, that was a great role he played.
He summed it up.
Yeah, Chris Rock was a dude I can't really take. I don't know, man. He gets a little annoying too. Ice-T was a little annoying, man. I'm sorry. Even
Ice-T is always annoying to me, bro. Always.
Yeah, I mean, even on CSI, he's fucking annoying. You know who was imitated him? Good Godfrey, the comedian Godfrey.
Oh yeah.
It's like he has like one-liners on CSI. Like they'll
No,
walk
but
in.
I never thought he was a good actor though.
He's terrible.
Even in New Jack City, he wasn't a good actor.
Looks like somebody shot him.
Yeah.
Shot 5 times.
That was my mother, man.
Yeah.
Come on, bro.
That shit was, he's overdoing it.
I was never even a big Ice-T fan. Outside, the only song, I'll be honest with you, that I like that Ice-T really, man. I listen to some of his shit. I never really cared for him. The only song I really liked was Colors. That was it.
Mine was 6 a.m.
6 a.m, yeah, it's classic. But Colors, man, that beat from the movie, the soundtrack.
Yeah.
That song Colors off the chain.
Yeah.
But Ice-T, now if you remember, he wasn't even really famous then. In the first Breaking movie, right? You remember the corny ass DJ? You know what I'm talking about in the Breaking movie, who was on the stage with the hat?
Yeah.
That's Ice-T.
No way.
Hell yeah, go back and look at it.
You gonna make me go back and watch it now.
He's that corny ass DJ outside at the end when they're doing it. He's the one on the stage with the corny as hell.
Oh, that's funny.
That's Ice-T, man. Go back and look at that shit, man.
Right.
But yeah, I never really cared for Ice-T. Never was a huge fan.
Not at all.
I thought his rhyme style he just sounded corny to me, man. I don't know what it was, and he was another one that got smashed by L. L fucking tore his ass up.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
To the break of dawn, he said he took the album cover, one with his wife on it, went straight.
Took it home to the bathroom.
I said, boy, let me tell you something. L is that slick Queens dude, man. I know.
Yeah.
I grew up with a lot of cats that had that personality, man. Real slick mouth. And L wasn't the dude you wanted to start a war with like that.
Not like that, no.
Slick one-liners, That was man. But Ice-T is a cornball, man. I never cared for that shit, man.
Yeah.
Now you remember when L came out? You should know because people in New York was mad saying he was biting off of Tila Rock.
Oh yeah, no, definitely. Now, yeah, I've mentioned that before in the past. Tilo. Now, okay, we talked about Dana Dane and Slick Rick. Now, I think L's style, not rhyme flow. L definitely was influenced by Tila Rock because before L was popular, I remember the battles in the park. Tila Rock was notorious. Yeah, Tila Rock put some stuff out, but never really got out there, as far as record-wise, like artists did later. But Tila Rock was known as a battle rapper in Queens, all the block parties in the park, the whole nine. And L was a part of that in the early. Now remember, L started at such a young age, man. You got to remember,
Yes.
he was shit. What, 16 when the first album Radio came out? 16 or 17, just fresh out of high school, or in his senior year of high school.
Yep.
But I'm saying this to say, like we did the whole size up with Dana Dane and Slick Rick. If you look at the way Tila Rock dressed, the way he rhymed when he was rhyming off his body movements, when you see L with the Kango and the turtlenecks, that's all Tila Rock. I'm just gonna be honest with you. I think aspects of L's style, he definitely was influenced by Tila Rock. Now, I always thought L's flow was a little bit more advanced than Tila Rock. But the delivery, yes, you'll see some similarities there. I think it's undeniable. We would have to be foolish to say that in some capacity, L was him. And I think
for me, all you got to do is listen to Is Yours.
Yeah,
listen to Is Yours. Listen to the flow. Listen to the way he delivers. And it's you could see where L pulled that from.
100%. 100%. So, like Slick Rick and Danny, I think we'd be foolish to say he wasn't. I mean, come on, it's obvious. Right. And I think people, at that time, because you got to remember LL and Tila Rock, you're talking about all those areas. Like after I moved out of Long Island, that's where I live, Southeast Queens. You're talking about Farmers Boulevard, Springfield Gardens, St. Albans, Laurelton, Queens, Rosedale. You talking about that, all those areas literally were right after you got out of Nassau County, which the last town in Nassau County is Valley Stream. Even when you hear Rakim and them rapping about Green Acres Mall, that's technically in Valley Stream. But all Queens cats would go there because after you get out of Valley Stream on that side, now if you go on the other side of Nassau County going into Queens, that's over by Belmont Racetrack. So that's where you get out of Elmont. That's the Hollis side. That's where like DMC and all them is from. That's Hollis, Queens, Belmont, Queens. That's the other side. But now when you get on the more of the southeast side, now you're talking about Jamaica. You're talking about Farmers. You're talking about St. Albans, Springfield Gardens, Rosedale, right? Fat Boys were from Rosedale. That's where they were from. So you're talking about all of those areas there is where they would have all these different parties. And Ed alluded to some of it in the interview. He didn't mention all those places. He mentions Hollis. He mentions some of those battles in the park. He don't mention like Springfield, St. Albans. But that's where Tila Rock and L were from. L's from St. Albans. That's where he's from. Matter of fact, where I lived in Springfield Garden, I lived right off of Farmers in 165th. I told you, go there today. You can go there today, right now. Right on 165th in Farmers, there's a bodega, Dominican bodega. As soon as you walk in the bodega, you'll see on the glass, every time L goes in there, there's pictures of him from back in the day to the present day. Because you can go in there today and see the photo that are still in there. But in those areas at that time when all those battles were going on, Tila Rock, there's definitely those there definitely will tell you 100%. Now Tasha, you put it together. I think anybody that really knows what's going on can even look on the outside and put it together. There's definitely fucking influence there. I've said that from day one, 100%. And like you say, if you go listen to It's Yours, 100%. 100%. You
Right.
can see the influence, 100%, man.
That's
All
crazy.
right, brothers, it's almost midnight. We almost been on 4 hours. I think it's a wrap.
No doubt, no doubt.
Appreciate it.
Let's wrap this.
Thank
We'll
you
do
for
another
having
show.
me.
I know we couldn't cover everything.
Yeah. We covered a lot, though. We covered a lot.
We covered a
Thank you so
lot.
much.
So,
I
you know,
learned a lot.
hopefully another 50 more years of this. Continue this, and let's just let's put some energy out there to get this thing transitioning back in the right direction.
Absolutely.
doubt.
Absolutely.
It
Appreciate
reminds
you.
me of the Common song, I Used to Love Her, right?
Uh-huh.
Kind of how I'm feeling about hip hop now.
Real.
Right,
Real.
That's kind of
right.
sums it up for me.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
we'll see.
That's the
All
mic
right.
drop right there, Beniti.
What's that?
That's the mic drop.
That's the mic drop. There you
Real
go.
talk.
Used to love her. All right. I appreciate all you guys.
Thank
Those
you.
tuning in, those watching on the other platforms, Fernal Blessings, and we'll talk soon. All right.
Thank you.
All right, cool.